Let's get ready. Alright, it's Gino's spot. Sit down now. Get yourself a drink. Sit down, relax. Let your stresses fade away. It's time for Gino's spot. We're nearly ready for you. We're just fiddling around behind the stage. We're just fiddling backstage with the buttons. Don't just step into the circle you feel. Feel all the fuss. When everybody's looking, don't you? 'Cause you've mystified us.
Relax, sit down. Coming out of PE town. Drink, find a shot. Never mind your liver. Get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot!
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot!
Have a laugh, have a giggle, and exercise your middle. Have a Gino shot.
Gino shot!
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot!
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot!
Have a laugh, have a giggle, and exercise your middle. Get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot!
And it is Wednesday. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Gino's Spot. Not the usual. It's Wednesday, it's normally Tuesdays and Thursdays, but because we are on our way to Addo tomorrow, we're going to Addo to do a show, and so we have to do it on Wednesday today, and we have to do that every now and again. We have to. I know Carol Jacobs was moaning a little while ago about in East London about the fact that we have to change our date every now and again, but we as COVID lifts and masks go away, and the business comes back, we have to do some live work again. So Wednesday it is, and we will rebroadcast again tomorrow. Is that right, Gary? We are rebroadcasting this as well in case you miss it and you want to watch on a Thursday. It's okay as well. You just can't speak to us live. But now tonight is going to be an interesting one indeed, and of course, thank you to our sponsors, Spar and Fitch and Leeds, of which I have some. Yeah, I'm got gin and tonic today, and a little bit of punters. Thank you, Keith. So KC, we got a little bit of Keith Clark's punters here. We need another one, Keith. It's run out. It's always run out every night we do it. It's run out, Keith. All right. So welcome. Fat Cats Catering as well. Obviously, they bring food when they can, and we are very, very thankful to them for doing that. It's every now and again. Tonight, obviously, Grace is busy. She's been running around like a maniac as well. Brendan Kelly is online as well. Brendan, we're going to have you. Brendan's going to be on in a little while as well. I can't remember the actual date. We did sort of settle on a date. Brendan is going to be very interesting too. You're talking about all sorts of things, boats. Power boats and cars, and I like those topics. That's good fun. Camilla Ellis, how's it, Camilla? Hi everybody. It says Arnold and Wildline are subject close to my heart. Oh, good. And Arnold, of course, Arnold Slabbert on tonight with us talking about all sorts of stuff, and you know that Arnold doesn't hold back. He doesn't hold back at all. So feel free to send some questions in. Please tell us where you're watching from and what you're drinking. What are you doing at the moment? Give us a little bit of news, and I'll sing it for you as well. And welcome to Gino's Spot. Fantastic to have you on the Wednesday night. It's quite nice to do it on a Wednesday night. It means and next Tuesday we'll be back. Back again. Indeed. So, tell me where you're watching from, what you're doing. Nice. I can't get no satisfaction. Remember to subscribe to YouTube and Carter. How's it from Side UK? He's watching from the overseas. I ain't get no. He said, how's it I'm glad you're at home, Brennan. So, it's nice to rekindle your marriage, because you need to. When I was with Michelle last night there, just having a little whiskey and whatever I was, whenever the last show was last night. No, indeed. Brennan, it's going to be good to have you on as well. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest tonight, of course, Arnold Slabbert. We're going to be talking about wildlife and a whole bunch of stuff, because what I really wanted to find out was about animals in the area, in the urban areas. And if there's an animal in trouble, there's a wild animal in trouble, Arnold's the one that gets called out to sort things out. If there's an animal making a nuisance of itself, Arnold's the one that gets called out. But we're going to chat to him tonight, and we can ask him any question you like. We test a whole bunch of topics. So let's welcome onto the stage Mr. Arnold Slabbert.
Ooh, welcome to the show. Now is your time to shine. We're gonna have a chat tonight. Another good time.
We go, and we're in and live. Welcome, Arnold. Fantastic to have you on the show.
So there's no action replay if I say things, eh?
No.
Be careful.
No action replay.
No, you're not going to cut.
It's live. It's live. But there's no rules, with this. And we've tended to have great conversations before, and nobody's got into any deep trouble yet. Yet. Arnold. But Arnold, I'm going to take my notes here as well, because there's quite a couple of things that we need that you need to touch on. But at the moment, your day at the moment, what are you busy with? What are your projects at the moment that you're busy with?
Okay, it's a nice time of year for me because I get more time to do things that I actually want to do.
Yeah.
The summer months are traditionally very busy work-wise, and also with a lot of wildlife issues, wildlife rescues, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But once you start going into winter, it gets quiet.
Okay.
At the end of releasing owls, I think that we have possibly another 20 to go, and then all the owl rescues will be released back into the wild, which is always a great time because, the one thing I always love is people say, Arnold, you have a wonderful job. Saving wildlife's not how I earn a living. Saving wildlife's what I do for fun.
Yeah.
Right? So the more wildlife I can release, the less pressure on me. Yeah. So I've got to feed all of these animals. And I was thinking today about, I don't often think about these talks, but I was thinking I might need to give you a little rundown.
Yes.
So at this time of year, which is quiet, I need 40-day-old chicks, I need about 30 rats, and I need about 20 pigeons every single day. So that is my food bill, right? To feed these birds and keep them going.
Yeah.
So this is the quiet time of year. When it gets really busy,
that's now.
Then it's quite frightening, the amount of food that you need to feed everybody. It's not the kind of food you can go and buy at a supermarket or that. It's food that you have to source one way or another, and it's what those birds need to remain very healthy. That's the wild animals. Jackie Neal Shoot, who helps me with a lot of stuff, she's sitting with otters, she's sitting with mongooses and that. All of those need something else. Otters eat a lot of fish.
I'm sure.
Let me tell you, they eat one hell of a lot of fish. It's quite amazing. And then Janita Kraspe helps me a lot with the owls. She's also sitting with a good few owls and stuff as well that she's also looking after. So there's a vast amount of animals that require feeding, and that all has to be sourced one way or another. So I'm pretty glad when it reaches this time of year and most of them can go free, and I can take a bit of break from having to worry every day, have I got enough food, and how am I going to source stuff.
And I mean, because one of the triggers for me was to get you on as well, because I've been thinking about getting you on for a long time, since we had some meetings down with the valley. We're talking about the valley edge stuff here. But I caught a rat, and just to explain, I caught a rat in my little cage, and I thought I was being so good because I caught this rat live. It's this little cage. It's got a thing, a trigger, and it closes the other side of the cage and catches it live. And then I let it out into the valley, and Arnold said, "No, you can't let it out in the valley." But what we're saying now is we probably should collect them all together and give it to you for your food.
Well, a lot of people do drop them off for food.
Really?
Okay, so the important thing to remember is that when you deal with rats, and I mean it drives me insane when people say, "Oh, a little field mouse in the house." Yeah. They're invariably house rats, right, which are an exotic invasive species. And house rats themselves are responsible for many extinctions, particularly of birds and that. They raid every bird nest, they eat the chicks, etc., etc. So when you get a house rat in your house, it needs to be killed. not taken and released into natural areas so it can carry on its way of killing everything around it.
But the thing is not to kill it with poison as well. So I did one thing right.
Obviously. You did the right thing, and I was very impressed with that, using a trap. It means it sunk in.
Okay.
You know, and we have to go to the poison thing, which has been one of my big campaigns, it breaks my heart every time, and year in, year out. Come end of this sort of breeding season, when the owls are really hunting, we'll get 2 or 3 poisoned owls a week, sometimes 2 or 3 poisoned owls a day. And, you know, people were saying, I was watching a post on Facebook, and they said, oh, you know, we've got owls in Lorraine. Of course you've got owls in Lorraine. We've just released a whole lot. Let's see how long they stay around. Wow. You know, that's the sad thing.
Okay, so you release into those areas?
Into the surrounding small holding, and they move into town. Right.
Okay.
So the one thing that is just mind blowing to me is I was actually going through all my stats and data, and on one particular street corner in Lorraine, I got 3 poisoned owls over the last 4 years, on exactly the same street corner, next to a townhouse complex. Okay. So it really is a sad situation. And you know, my big focus has always been keeping wildlife in the urban areas as much as possible, which is why the Balkans has always been close to my heart, because it's an area that originally had a lot of wildlife in, a lot of interesting wildlife. You know, the Balkans had honey badgers, it had blue duiker, which are threatened species, Cape lawless otters, and so it goes on, bushbuck, racebuck, common duiker, and a whole host of other smaller mammals, etc., etc. Yeah. So the Balkans has always been close to my heart. It's the green lung of the city, and I'm very, very passionate about the fact that wildlife also has a place in the city. You know, but unfortunately, these areas are not being protected properly, and there's a lot of illegal hunting pressure on them. There's a lot of dogs wandering around killing things. And you know, it's just a very sad state of affairs.
Because we're just talking about these areas are protected areas, like the public open spaces that people go and hunt and stuff on. They've got animals as well, but those public spaces are not actually protected. Whereas the municipality really should be protecting these areas, like the Balkans Valley.
Well, not only the Balkans Valley, all the reserves and stuff need to be protected as well. They need to be properly protected, and the strict letter of the law enforced there. And that is one of the big issues. And you know, that is where I'm often at a crossroads. A lot of people who like rescuing animals and that, because one of our biggest problems is feral animals, be it dogs or cats, in natural areas, and the destruction they cause with wildlife. You know, so it is a major issue. And the other day there was an extremely interesting post on a Facebook post in Lorraine, and a woman was saying, a cat had been killed by 3 dogs. And my first question was your cat in the yard? No, it wasn't. In the yard. It was wandering around maiming birds and wildlife. 3 dogs who also were wandering around maiming birds and wildlife killed the cat. You know, so it is a very, very, and unfortunately, you sit with these rabid animal rights, I love my cats and my cat would never, kind of situation. It's not like that. You know, cats and dogs need to be kept by their owners, and they are one of the biggest problems facing the valley. In fact, this very afternoon, what did I see? A big black tom hunting away merrily in the valley. And you know, it's very interesting. As I told you before the show, there's a very interesting graph. Number 1 killer of birds in the world, cats. Number 2, motor vehicles. No, domestic and feral. Both of them are doing the job. Number 2, motor vehicles. Number 3, poison. The sad thing is...
Motor vehicles is second. That's crazy.
The sad thing is, at the bottom of the list, wind farms.
Wind farms, which is supposed to be which is the one that everybody...
Which is the one which everyone saw. Yes, and someone rightfully said, but wind farms kill a lot of threatened or endangered species. Yes, maybe. You know, and I'm not pro wind farms. I don't like them. I find them revolting things on the horizon. They really disturb my karma. Every time I drive past and I see these structures sticking out of nowhere, they destroy my karma. But point of the matter is, it is very interesting when you start looking at the science as to what is actually causing. And we have a massive decline in bird population in gardens and in surrounding areas. And there are a lot of side factors are playing a role. First of all, gardeners love poison. I mean, if you go to any nursery, 50% of what they're selling is poison. They sell more poison than plants, I'm sure, most of them.
Like this,
you know, all of this stuff.
This weed killer stuff.
Roundup.
Roundup.
Yeah, and all these herbicides and things that they sell. And then, of course, we need to remember that the whole marketing strategy of the world is based on fooling the consumer. You know, so what do? Eco-friendly, green,
you got it.
All of those right terms. And what happens? People want to do good, right? But people are also stupid. Why do you say that, Arnold? What does the label say? Toxic to fish and wildlife. What do you expect? You got a green toxic to fish and wildlife? Green
as well.
So you ask me, what disappears out of gardens? Geez, when I was a kid, our garden was full of chameleons.
Yeah.
There's no more chameleons. Pesticides,
Yeah.
cats.
Okay.
Right? There's just no more chameleons.
charming.
And if we don't see those warning signs, and they're there right in front of us, we just don't see them. We choose to ignore them. It's an inconvenient truth. And I go back to my favorite words by Rachel Carson, and everyone should read The Silent Spring.
Yeah,
And you know what that is? As crude a weapon as the caveman's club, the chemical barrage we hurl against the fabric of life.
Really.
And Rachel Carson was an amazing woman years before her time, but she already warned us, be careful of this chemical barrage you're hurling against the fabric of life.
Yeah.
And you know, we've got to be so careful because it's so easy to become self-righteous. And I know a lot of people who are vegan because I believe animals shouldn't die.
Yeah.
But do you know how much poison goes on crops today?
Yeah.
Even so-called
Organic
crops.
Organic crops.
A friend of mine said to me, he said, you know, all of these organic foods you eat, and they cause more damage than anything else because the consumer wants food X way, and to get it X way, they have to use a lot of toxic poisons. I'll give you a little classic story quickly. I love these kind of stories because people need to think, and people don't think. You know, we just have to look at this little flu scam and see that people actually don't think past their noses. They kind of all follow each other, you know, like little sheep in a line. So, oh, you know, this is it. The end of the world is here. So I'm out in the field. One of my big passions is training gun dogs. I'm training gun dogs for trials. And I've got my
gun dogs.
Working dogs.
Oh, okay.
Working dogs. Okay. So I'm training my dogs. I've got my good friend Brandon. I hope Brandon doesn't listen to the show.
He probably is. Somebody tell
Probably
Brandon.
someone's going to tell Brandon. My good friend Brandon, who knows everything about making money. Unlike me, he knows. Brandon knows everything, and he makes lots of money. He farms, etc., etc.
Yes.
We're walking in the fields, lovely fields, canola, and I'm looking at the ground. I said, "Geez, Brandon, what is this stuff on the ground? This blue powder?" Oh, that's snail bait. Snails love canola. So I look, and as far as your eye can see, there's canola land. So I said, are you telling me this is all snail bait? Yeah. Yes, snail bait. And I look at all the dead insects lying on the edge of the land, and I start thinking to myself, geez, you know, Arnold, it's been years lost since you've seen bat-eared foxes, yeah? They're gone.
Yeah.
No, you start thinking about this.
Yeah.
A little bit later, it's a hot day, dogs are going to the cliff, they have a drink of water. The next thing, the dogs are all violently ill. So this was immediately a trigger for me.
Yeah.
So I took, but you see, this is the one thing, because I actually have a very, very good background in investigation. So I know, first thing I look for is clues, evidence, that kind of stuff, and I know exactly how to do this stuff.
You're
So
the
I
police
collected a whole lot of water. I collected a whole lot of water samples, right, and sealed them, kept them, and then I dared open my mouth about the snail bait. Right. Was I shot down? Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You greenies are idiots. You know nothing. This stuff just breaks down. It's harmless. It's like candy for kids. Oh, cool. Anyway, let's see what a laboratory says about this. So take a guess what? The laboratory would put their name to the results.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Yes.
what do you
Because
think,
they'll get
eh?
nailed by
What do you think? It couldn't be good
lawsuits.
if you, yep. No laboratory would put their name to the results. Finally, we got a result from a laboratory that said, look, we won't put our name on the top, but this is the result. The metaldehyde percentage in the water was 70 times what is safe for human consumption. That is water that's ending up in the groundwater. It's water that's ending up in the rivers and the sea. Why do you think the world's going where it is? The chemical barrage we hurl against this fabric of life. Right? And there we all said, oh, no, I'm vegan. I don't harm a thing. Sorry, people.
I suppose
Humans have an impact. You want to save the world? Stop breeding.
Well, like the rat poisons and stuff as well. Let's just have a whole lot of comments have just come on here. Let's have a quick squiz at some of these comments. Just Wendy saying, we have a fat rat on our garden and our complex. You can have it with pleasure, she says.
You need to catch it, Wendy.
You've got to catch it in those cages. My friend Des is in our breeding box placed just before she died. The year after she died, the owls arrived and bred every year for 10 years since. Lovely to see them there every year. Lovely. That must be, I wonder where that is.
I know exactly where that one
You know
is.
what it is?
Yes, I know. where that
Lovely.
one is.
Lovely. And Miranda Pereira says as well, Arnold, thank you for what you're doing for the animals. Arnold, she's thanking you there. And John Klein, exactly, he's agreeing with you. There's a nail on the head, he says. And Miranda, sorry for what you do. Yes, no, thank you for what you're doing for all the animals. And it's like that poison thing, I mean, all farmland will have some sort of poison, like you said, snailbait. That's quite. And if there was such a lot of it, you know, and is there not? There's farming that you can do that's
let me put it to you like this. So yours truly now, the whole time, metaldehyde. My good friend Dr. Matt says, you know, Arnold, Holland, where I come from, that stuff's big trouble. It's in all the wildlife, etc., etc. Snailbait, metaldehyde. Okay. Of course, all the people that find me, oh, Arnold, I've got a hardy dart sick in my garden.
Yeah.
Are you using snailbait? Yes, I'm using snailbait.
Okay. It's gardens as well.
Yeah. Of course, all the homeowners use snailbait. Listen, I got taught a valuable lesson by a friend of mine, and she knows exactly who she is. She goes out every night when it's a bit misty and she catches every single snail in the garden.
What?
Passionately. She catches all the snails, puts them in a bucket and disposes of them. That's how she controls snails in the garden. She taught me something that I never ever knew, and I'm telling you, it works like a charm.
How do you catch them?
You just grab them by hand, drop them in a bucket.
But when do they come out then?
After dark, on a nice misty night after a bit of rain, go and look on all your vegetables and stuff. You just pull them off by hand.
Is that when they come out? Gary, that's when they get to your vegetables. I need to find it because
wait till a nice misty night and go and grab those. Anyway, she doesn't. I was blown away, and it works like a charm.
So there are ways and means.
Anyway, farmers can't do that. Let's be honest. What I was going to say to you. So now I'm coming in Lorraine, and here's a truck, and I look at it. What's the stuff on the back? Snail bait. 20, 30 ton, whatever tonnage those big trucks carry of snail bait. Where's the snail bait going? Oh no, to the citrus farmers. They use it there as well. Where does that water runner from the citrus farms go? Gamtoos River, Sundays River. Hey?
Yeah.
Where's all that stuff ending up? In the sea. You must be like me that gets under that water and has a little looky. You look around a lot of these river mouths, it's dead zones. You go to America, around the Mississippi Delta, it's dead zone for 150 kilometers. Sorry, maybe 150 miles. But it's right all the way out to sea. There's not a living thing left there.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about the locust.
Tell us
let's talk about the locust. Why do we have a locust problem? Overgrazing. Locusts are at their best in overgrazed ground. In fact, it stimulates them to breed. They go for it.
How does it work? They lay their eggs in the ground and just wait until it rains. What?
Okay, so go back to my conservation days 30 years ago. All right. Was that long ago?
Jeez.
No. I thought I was 21. What happened there?
No, you're clearly not 21.
Okay, so anyway, so I go back to my conservation days. So now I'm walking a fence, Utenag area, right? 4 kilometers of fence. 32 bat-eared foxes and gin traps on the fence. You know those slughaces under the fence. Set by the stockman for lynx and jackal, because they're killing sheep and goats. Go to the farmer, say, listen, you know, what are you doing here? But you know, jackal and lynx eat a sheep of mine. There's no ways I can allow that. What do you think aardwolves, bat-eared foxes, all of those creatures do? What do you think they're digging and eating and all that kind of stuff? What do you think a lot of these birds do that we have persecuted to the edge of extinction by all of this poison? They catch locusts, they dig eggs, we're killing ourselves. And then we all say, oh, woe is us, look at this amazing plague. We're the plague. There's only one plague, it's humans. You know, but the sad thing is, even though we're a plague, we will not accept responsibility for our actions, will we? We'll always blame something else. And when the time comes when we need to take action, we don't want to take that action. We'll rather stand back and hold ourselves holier than thou and let someone else do the dirty work and then criticize them for doing that dirty work and saying, well, you know. So I think we were discussing earlier. So let's get into the topic of problem animal management, which is actually what I do for a living. So I need to look holistically at problems. Now, believe it or not, I do problem animal control. I do bubonic plague monitoring, collecting bubonic plague sampling, and lately I've been forced into quite a bit of rabies stuff because rabies is everywhere.
And brought any with you, rabies or things with bubonic plague.
Yeah, probably the plague. I carry the plague around with me in my back pocket. Let's just see if I can find it here. Oh, there's plague here somewhere. So, just as a matter of interest, plague broke out in 2 places in South Africa initially, and it was in 1900.
This is Black Death, basically.
Black Death, yes.
Is that rats?
Is that politically correct?
No. What it was called the Black Death in the 1600s.
1600s. Just be careful of those terms nowadays.
Yeah.
So let's call it bubonic plague rather.
Plague,
The plague. Yes. So Black Death. Okay, so what happened is in 1900 it broke out. Now the interesting thing, it broke out in 2 places. Port Elizabeth, Cape Town. The reason it broke out is rats were brought with horse feed blamed the empire
Okay.
for horses
right,
for the
yes.
Anglo-Boer War.
Okay.
And there was a station at Kucha, right? And in the Cape as well, in Cape Town.
Yes.
Right. So the horse feed was brought in, black rats came with it, they spread plague, we became plague endemic. So there's I picked up plague samples fairly regularly now. So I know exactly what to find, what to look. But the thing with plague is it's not that deadly nowadays because we've got good antibiotics to handle it. If you know what's going on and you treat it, you should be fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Unlike rabies.
Okay, yeah,
Rabies. Right? Very much unlike
I
rabies.
seem to remember an outbreak in the 80s, which was hectic. Was it in
How
the 80s?
old are you?
Oh, I remember the 80s. I was a teenager then.
No, you're
But I
right. No,
remember.
you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
There was an outbreak of plague in the 80s, yes.
And
So-
I remember seeing those pictures on TV. It was quite terrifying.
So anyway, so this stuff all lurks in the natural environment. So the problem is that I have to play two roles. I love saving wildlife. It's my hobby. I have great fun doing it. I see I can't even tell you half the things and half the weird things that happen. And some days I go home and I shake my head and I think, don't know how I made it laugh today. And it happens quite often like it.
I'm sure.
So
What kind of strange? Okay, while we're there, come on. What kind of strange animals have you picked up in the urban areas? I mean, I always think like, what?
okay, let me tell you one of my greats. That's from quite some long time
I
ago.
like that.
Right, so I get a phone call from the police.
Yeah.
There's a bush pig, right, in a garden in Kammer Park.
Just like. Okay.
So then they phone me again. There's a bush pig in the house now in Kammer Park. So it's now 9 o'clock on a Sunday evening. So I get to this house in Kammer Park, right? Yeah. The police lights are flashing. There's cops with R4s standing on the wall. The owners of the house are outside the property, right?
Yeah.
So I said, no, bush pig's in the house. Geez, this not impossible, eh? There are bush pigs all around, so it's not an unusual thing. Oh, okay, well, let me go and have a look. I didn't have to open the door was wide open. Walked inside and there was a bush pig sitting on the couch watching TV. I mean, can you make this stuff up? No, you can't. Right? The bush pig was sitting on the couch watching TV. So the guy, I looked at this thing and I looked at him and I thought, pig, you someone's pet. So I scratched him behind the ear, and a proper bush pig, not a warthog or anything, a real bush pig, and a big one too. Scratched him behind the ear like that. And I said, hey, come, let's go. And he walked out behind me, quite happily following me. And you could just see the deflation. The cops let the R4s drop, and they all climbed. Everyone went, and it was someone's pet that got out. But it was hilarious at the time. I mean, you come in, and here's the pig sitting on the couch watching TV. Absolutely fascinated by TV.
Is it good to domesticate something like that? I mean, it's a wild animal, isn't it?
Things do happen, and people end up with these animals. They end up with little piglets, sometimes deliberately, sometimes just by accident. And they become really, really tame. And pigs are quite intelligent, so they can provide great, but they do become dangerous as time goes by. And warthogs are particularly mean. A lot of people keep warthogs and domesticate them, but they're mean buggers. So you got to be careful.
I mean, a warthog's got those things tusks that'll rip out your stomach.
And then another one that is quite funny was I got a phone call from someone in Seaview, and they said, hey, there's a lynx in my garden. I got there, looked at the lynx, and I said, listen, this is a tame lynx. Picked the cat up, put it under my arm. So I phoned Garnet, Kent at Krachakama Game Park. Say, hey, Garnet, because Garnet liked lynx in those days, long time ago. Phoned him and said, hey, Garnet, I'm bringing you a lynx. He said, no, that's fine, I'll keep it. So I was driving with the lynx sitting on my lap, which is going pretty well because the lynx was checking out the window. It was just on dark. Driving into Krachakama Game Park. When I hit Krachakama Game Park, what jumps up but a bloody hair in front of the bucky? Well, needless to say, did that lynx go berserk. He tried to bail out the window, and then I lost all of that love for that lynx.
All right.
No, look, some of the things that happen are funny. Some of them are really, really sad. I've had some really, really sad experiences with wildlife where you see the damage that humans are actually doing. And the other thing is you see the pure ignorance of humans.
But we must, if you can remember, you must tell us about some of this, because people need to know what to do in situations. And like my rat situation was a small one, but there's so many cases where maybe people do the wrong thing.
Okay, so what often happens is people find a young animal, something cute, sweet, furry, adorable. Right. And they want to behave like Elmira, hug it, kiss it, hold it, fondle it, feed it, whatever. The problem is a lot of animals are very, very specific in their diets. So the sad thing that happens many times, once the animal is at the point of death, take a guess what? Bring, hello Arnold, I found this here. How long have you had it? No, I've had it for 5 days. It looks a bit sick. And then, of course, you get it and it dies. The specialist care involved for some of the really rarer species is specialist care. And the diet required for some of the rarer species is specialist diet. You know, so that is often said to me because I get the most beautiful, got a beautiful young Cape Taurus otter in, but the people had had 5 days and they fed it in cat milk.
Oh,
no good.
Man.
No good for Cape Taurus otters. They're very, very specific in their diets. So, you know, by the time you get the animal, it's dehydrated, it's, you know, and even the best veterinary care and the best vets. And the other problem is a lot of people will take a wild animal and keep it. But they won't take it to a vet. First of all, because they know they shouldn't have it. And second of all, they don't want to spend the money at a vet. You know, and rightfully so. If you come into the vet with a wild animal you've been keeping, the vet's going to charge you for it. You know, so they will hold on to that animal for as long as possible. When it's really at death's door, then they bring it in and say, oh, look what I found. You know, and then you just have to grit your teeth and say, okay, not a problem. Good, well done, Godspeed, fairly well, kind of thing. Feel like whacking them on the head. Just remember one thing, you can never fix stupid. You can never, ever fix stupid. You can help it along with a baseball bat, but you can never fix it. And that is, you know, people say I'm harsh with that, but I have to deal with, and sometimes there are just days when I get really aggravated, you know. And unfortunately, I think, I don't necessarily agree with her political beliefs, but I don't know if you know of a woman called Melanie Verwoerd, Dr. Verwoerd's granddaughter, member of the ANC, etc. Yes. And she wrote a very interesting article once. She said her children said to her, they said, Mom, why are you not on Facebook? And she said, because social media gives a voice to ourselves. And it was a very, very true statement. So the problem is, you have a whole host of people out who have no clue what they're doing, but they become instant social media celebrities. And people follow them like, you know, like it's biblical. And I look at these people and I know what they're doing. In fact, I was never on social media, and my former business partner said to me, Arnold, you're a fool, because if you look at all of these idiots around, but get your name out there, because you do a lot of stuff, and, you know, half of the good things. So if you say to me, why are you on social media? I'll tell you straight. Because I have a great passion for birds of prey. And the one thing I don't like is birds of prey ending up in these little roadside zoos to entertain the public. That is my main passion. So I love releasing them. I can work with them. It's something I've done for 35 years, and nothing gives me greater pleasure than
the Raptor project that you're doing as well, eh?
The Urban Raptor Project is the business side. Wildline is the rescue of the wildlife. And Wildline is a lot of urban wildlife. I do get called all over the Eastern Cape, anything from blue cranes, martial eagles, you name it, I go. So yeah, I get lots of calls on those things, and those are the things I enjoy doing.
I saw a photo of huge wingspan of a, it was a bird of prey, but I was stuck in the electrocuted.
Yes, that was a juvenile marshal that was electrocuted at, well, that's another tragic circumstance. So you look at that power line running across the salt marsh.
Salt marsh, is that where it was?
Tankatara next to Sunday's River.
Sunday's River, okay.
Right, so you got this beautiful salt marsh. Blue crane settle in. Fantastic. There were never many there. Now they're forming a nice breeding flock. Guess what happens? The power line just takes them out, one after the other. Then it takes out dead and busted. Simple thing to repair. Simple thing. Put flappers on, do the necessary stuff. Municipality not interested. A lot of people talking, a lot of hot air. We'll sort it out. Blah, 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 blah. Now we get a critically. Remember, marshals are critically endangered. Like secretary birds, they are critically endangered. Marshal population has just dropped because the big problem is marshals wander over such a wide area, and tracking of the one marshal I rehabilitated showed us. He wandered from here right into Lesotho, over into the Free State, all over. So they wander over such a wide area that they're not contained by national parks. It's not like a marshal lives in one kloof in a national park. He goes right out the national park. He goes wherever he wants to go. And, you know, so they are really hammered. So to find a beautiful female in perfect health, young bird, this past year's chick, nuked on the power line. Evidently, they've been warned now they're going to get an environmental non-compliance, but if you look at our municipality, just puts raw sewage straight into the sea. Do you think it's going to worry them? I wonder. Let's see.
Wow, man. And how do we, I mean, if there's, I mean, because that's just one thing you need to do, you know. And I suppose it's a little, if you want to attack this problem of the people not really giving a crap about, or government really, you know, seemingly oblivious to what's going on, or not really caring too much. How do we, if we see this happening, how do we change it? How do we change little bit by little bit, you know? Perhaps that power line is the first one. We try and get a
Well, we've got
momentum
to look. My problem is I'm far too thinly spread. Right, that's my problem. And one thing people need to remember: this kind of stuff. This is a hobby. It's not. I've got to earn a living as well. So I've got to do all of the stuff in between earning a living. There are many nights that I don't finish feeding or looking after things till 10, 11 o'clock at night. Then I still get up early the next morning to go and do other stuff. So, you know, when I look at all of this stuff, I will let it go for so long, and then I'll say, well, you know, you're not going to get it right. Now I will take it by the balls.
Okay.
And there's certain things that we need as citizens of the city to take by the balls and give them a good squeeze.
Yeah.
Barkens River, sewerage flows, dumping of raw sewage. It is absolute, you know what.
Yeah.
And it goes on and on and on. The municipality needs to be prosecuted. There's enough environmental law to prosecute this municipality. People will not do it. That's the problem. So sooner or later, when I get peed off enough, I will go to a police station and I will open criminal cases against a couple of people and let's see what happens. But other citizens should be doing the same because I'm a citizen now. I'm no longer an official working for the government. I'm a citizen. So people need to do that. We as citizens need to take an aggressive stance when it comes to environmental matters. You know, and it is sometimes, and I'm talking about real environmental issues. You know, not you know, I don't like what's happening. I mean, if we look at the, you know. Ask me what depresses me the most. It's the sewage in the water and the dumping of waste. It is frightening. I have witnessed some of the most beautiful flays and wetlands turned into rubbish dumps.
Yeah, the dumping, illegal dumping. It's ridiculous. I don't get it. I've set up a camera here in the valley over here because there's a dumping going on over here. Just a small scale thing, but people will come into the valley and just dump. And I mean, you know, there's so many reasons why this happens as well. You've got to almost step back and look at that big picture again. You know, like you have to do that in so many cases. You have to step back from everything and look at the entire picture. I mean, there's a guy dumping here. He's obviously a drug addict or something, and you know, then there's a whole other clump of reasons why it happens. But if you step back and look at the bigger picture, like in your case, you have to exterminate animals as well and do away with them.
You know, you have to look at the big picture. So now I have to provide solutions to problems.
Yeah.
Right. So I look at the species that occur in the urban areas.
Yeah.
Right. And my good friend Dr. Matt always says to me, you know, Arnold, what the saddest thing, and he's very right, the species that do well, we call problems. We should be praising them and saying, listen, you've done well, guys. You deserve a medal, but instead they become problems. So when I look at the city, there are a couple of species that I regard as distinct problem species.
Yeah.
Egyptian geese.
Really?
Right. So
Philip is going to hate that one because she had lovely little Egyptian geese.
Oh, please.
But
I've
it got taken
raised
by
thousands
Janet.
of them. I love them. They're cute. They're entertaining. But let me tell you one thing about Egyptian geese that very few people don't know. I get a phone call the other day from a school. Right? They say, Arnold, can you help? So I said, what happened? No. They had a pair of Egyptian geese and they had youngsters. Youngsters got into the pool. Right? Another pair of Egyptian geese came and they killed all those youngsters just like that. Egyptian geese are extremely aggressive.
Really?
Right. So one of my big problems is they keep attacking the owls in the nest boxes.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
They are bold enough to try and, the only birds of mine in my raptor nest boxes can withstand Egyptian geese are the peregrine falcons. They can take them on in a fair, but birds like rock kestrels and that, they throw the eggs, throw the chicks out and they take over the nest boxes. So now you look at Egyptian geese. If you went back 30 years, very few Egyptian geese. What's changed? All of the agricultural land suits them.
Yeah.
Their aggressive nature, because they take over a single body of water and they then proceed and they will kill other ducks, other ducklings and that. They will take over that water and they just dominate.
Yeah.
And their capacity to breed, their breeding is never endless. There's no breeding season for Egyptians anymore. They breed the whole year round.
Sure.
So every time you look, there's 12 goslings. Now the sad thing is, sweet and kind humans.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Let's throw some millies. Let's feed them. Let's keep them going. So what happens? Instead of nature sorting them out to a degree where when you have 12 babies, very few of them survive.
Yeah.
right? But no, they're raising 8 and 10 youngsters, and now we've got, instead of 1 or 2 babies a year surviving, and not only that, they're double clutching because there's lots of food in that. So now we've got 20, 30 babies. So as a result, we're sitting with 5, 6, 7, 800 Egyptians in a flock. So okay, so now you have to look. Now you've got to look at the much bigger picture. Now we're talking about the city. So all over, all of these dairy farms and that have thousands and thousands of geese coming in. Right.
Okay.
So if you look in America, one of their big problems with their water reserves is the vast amounts of geese defecating in the water, because they virtually pollute that water to the extent that it's non-drinkable. So they have to have active elimination programs 24/7 to control the geese numbers.
Holy
You know?
crap. Okay.
So the problem is, you can love animals as much as you want to, but you also have to be realistic, and we have to control numbers in a lot of species, because not only are they negative to us, but they're negative to other wildlife species. They're negative to the environment. So now we look at crows.
Yeah.
Highly entertaining.
Yes.
Except you've got a
Black
black
one.
bag of rubbish ripped all over the place. Have a look at something else about crows.
Yeah.
What do? They mob and attack all other birds.
Really.
Right. So what happens is, you get a flock of crows, they'll find a young owl, they'll beat it to death, they'll kill it and eat it. They have no problem doing it, they do it often. I get called how many times? Owl wing smashed by crows, crows ripping along, owl chick they've caught, they've beaten off the parents, they take it. Why have we got so many crows? Because of all of the waste. The worse the waste management gets, the more the crows are. Right?
Yeah.
So now we sit with this problem, and what happens? What is the right way to do it? You've got to control them. So what do some idiots say? Western Cape, well, the crows are a big problem, they're affecting a lot of other birds, we'll have to put out poison for them.
Aye.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
old crude fabric. Crows' numbers have to be controlled. I found them highly entertaining. I rescued one. I call him Jimmy the Saint. It's one of those white-necked ravens. If you ever seen the size of the size of the beak on that thing, I tell you, it's quite impressive. It's about the size of my hand, literally. They're massive birds.
They are big. There's about 6
So you
or 8
get the
of them
pied
out here.
crow, you get the black crow, and you get the white-necked raven. And the white-necked raven's massive. He's the big guy. He's virtually pitch black, and you'll see he's got a white collar around his
Oh
neck.
wow. Okay. Yeah.
But he's a
I think
mean bird.
I think there's some of those up here in the valley as well. I see that, and there are about 6 of them. Is that they're going in groups or?
Yeah. So, and the other interesting thing is, crows, anywhere vultures feed, are a major menace. They mob the vultures, and they actually mob them off the carcasses because there's so many of them. So they're actually having a negative impact on vultures as well, and vulture feeding. Yeah. So, it's all of these things, all created by humans. So you have to say to me, Arnold, what's the right answer? Well, we need to cull humans. Pity this whole flu scam was such a joke, because we needed to lose a couple of billion, not what was it, 1 or 2 million or something worldwide.
Yeah, but I mean, this COVID certainly had an effect on the society, the animal welfare, and all the other animal charities and things.
Okay, so if you look at me, when this whole COVID thing started, now, I love people that talk about follow the science and love. All of a sudden, science became a big buzzword, wasn't it? Everyone was out there for science. Yeah. Well, I've kind of worked in the background with these virus things and bubonic plague, and so I mingle in those communities. So I know a lot of the stuff.
Dabble in it.
Dabble in it.
I
dabble in it. I mean, the odd bit of plague, a little bit of this, send some viral samples
rabies
off.
There.
Well, what's quite interesting. The hilarious thing was, the first week of COVID, I had a fruit bat that I wanted sampled.
Yeah.
So I sent an email up, and I said, I've got a fruit bat that I need sampled. Now, the whole theory was
sample,
COVID was...
What do you mean by sample?
Well, I want
blood.
brain sample. I actually want to test for viral malaria.
Oh.
Because it seems like fruit bats can be carriers of viral malaria. Anyway, I sampled it, tested, etc. So I said, I've got this fruit bat. Now, that whole COVID thing started, it could come from bats.
Yeah.
And the bat, I said the bat was sick, it had certain symptoms, etc. Jesus, it was just dead silence. So eventually I thought, no, bugger this, it's been a day, now I need to phone. So I phoned the head scientist, and I said, listen, I've got a fruit bat that needs sampling.
Yeah.
It was just dead silence. It was like Satan himself had come into our midst. I said, I've got a fruit bat. It's just a damn fruit bat. I know it's weird, but please sample it. I'm going to send it up.
Waar kom hy vandaan, hoorie?
Listen, it was absolutely hilarious, because this whole world went into a panic about this thing that was going to kill us all,
Yeah.
you know, which unfortunately didn't, because we do need to get culled quite a bit,
Yes.
like a lot of other populations,
So
because we are
culling
the
the
biggest
humans is
problem.
not
We
a
need
problem.
human culling.
yeah, Thanos, yeah. It's like a...
But you know, it's interesting because having dealt with all of these schemes and a lot of the environmental schemes and scams, you know, so
Yeah.
let's go to raptor friendly and eco-friendly poison,
Yes.
etc., etc. Now you look with a bit of a jaundiced eye at everything, so now COVID comes along.
Yeah.
This is going to kill so many people. We're on the verge of death. Anyway, the sweet thing was, for the first couple of weeks, I mean, I had free access. Doing what I do, I could go anywhere.
Yeah.
Lockdown
Yes.
didn't
No,
mean anything in
lockdown,
my
yeah.
world.
You could,
Lockdown,
yeah.
you know, forget about that crap. For you plebs.
Yes.
So the first thing is that it was wonderful to see wildlife come out again. I was on the roads at night. There was nobody. They were
Yeah.
deserted.
And
So-
I remember that was definitely...
It was cool. It was really cool. I started to see animals around.
Yeah.
You know, there was a mountain reedbuck here in DF Malhaba School.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, so it was really nice. So I went down to 3rd Avenue Dip, and there every evening I saw my friendly owl.
Yeah.
And the most amazing thing I saw was him catch a puff adder.
Yo.
Awesome. Caught a puff adder and killed it. It was so amazing that I didn't even think to take a video. I just watched it. I
Yeah.
could not believe how beautifully he killed that puff adder. And he sat in the middle of the road and ate it.
And no cops.
Take a guess what? The first time they lifted restriction,
Yeah.
that very evening was knocked over and killed in the road there.
course, yeah.
The owner at the cafe at the top said, Arnold, your owl's been knocked over. And I went and collected him, he was knocked over. So that was the sad thing. But I said from the start that this COVID thing is going to have a negative impact. You need to understand that in our world and our country, there are a lot of really poor people. We've now made them poorer, we've made them hungrier. Who's going to pay the price? Wildlife.
Yeah.
Third week in COVID, I'm driving along near Bridgemead. I see two little guys. They're carrying a bag on their back, and I can see the bags moving.
Hey.
Right. Call them over. Hey, what you carrying here?
Yeah.
Tortoises. Tortoises from this big through, taking them home to eat.
No.
And you know, I looked at the whole thing, and then I looked at the arrogance of some people. When I say arrogance, you know, yeah, you have people, they're sitting in their beautiful houses next to their swimming pool, and they're berating the poor. Oh, look at those people. They're not even practicing lockdown. They're all together. You know, what do you expect? And this whole thing has continued to have that impact. But the sad impact was that we had government departments tasked with protecting the environment that were doing little before. Now they had an excuse for 2 years to do nothing.
Yeah.
And the environment has paid the price. It has paid the price hands down. We won't even talk about the animals that are entangled with masks and the birds we get in and the seabirds and all of that. We will not
Masks.
talk about
I saw that a raptor with a mask underneath
yeah,
its wing.
rock kestrel. You see, the juveniles will chase something like a mouse playing around, then it gets tangled up. The next thing it's tangled up in that, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I know my world's out there in a real world, and I see a lot of things, and you know, I deal with this kind of stuff, and I know people are just very easily fooled and misled, and you can tell them anything, and they will believe it, and they'll believe it, and they'll fight till the end of
You
days.
give money to places that
Yeah.
you've got to make sure where you give.
Well,
your-
this is the
your
big
funds
thing,
as
you
well.
know. People also tend to believe, and this is where animal rights organisations score hands down, because they appeal. They have the most amazing, heart-rending pictures and stuff, and they appeal to people, and people spend their money. But you know what is interesting to me? Let's take Save the Rhino.
Yeah.
If you look at any of the Save the Rhino things, I can tell you about 99% of the money that you donate in Save the Rhino goes to pay inflated salaries and things like that. Very little actually goes to Save the Rhino. And there are tons of those things out everywhere. I remember a couple of places that said, oh, given this. And I said, you know, have you looked, what are they actually doing?
Yeah, you've got to
And we can go and
do
talk.
your research on it. I suppose you've got to do something.
We can go and talk on my favourite topic. So when you say to me, Arnold, what are the most endangered things? Not rhino and elephant. Where do people come from? It's not rhino and elephant. It's tiny, insignificant little creatures that aren't cute, that aren't funny, that aren't pretty, and nobody gives a continental about them.
Yeah.
Those are the things that are dying right under our eyes. They're going at a rate of knots. Rhino, they're worth too much money. They're property. They'll be around. But it's those little guys that nobody worries about that are just disappearing. The tiny little plants, the insects, the things that have no financial value. Those are the ones that
the
go.
plants and stuff, plant life as well. I mean, it must be a similar thing. Gary puts on little notes every now and again. Don't just ignore it. That's just for me. So when he's saying we was talking earlier about a monkey that was like 40 foot up in the air on a crane.
Okay.
What is that?
So, you know, this is now, So I do all this wildlife rescue and I save all these animals. But there is a side where I have to make decisions. Now, I've got to make decisions based on what's best for humans and animals. And this was a classic example that I was telling. So yesterday I get a phone call.
Yeah.
There's an aggressive male monkey,
Yeah.
right? And he's trapped 4 people
Yeah.
on top of a crane.
In a crane. So
In a
there's
crane.
a box in the crane.
The box in the crane. Yeah.
Yes.
So, you know, I'm used to dealing with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Jeez,
It's a monkey.
really, it's a monkey. Let's go there.
Yeah.
But I've also seen the damage a big male vervet can do.
Yeah.
I've seen a person's muscle in the arm almost ripped out by a big
Yeah.
male
'Cause I
vervet.
got
So
these
I'm
teeth.
worried. They've got nice big teeth. And they're mean as well. Don't
Yeah, yeah.
ever underestimate them. We'll go into another baboon story after this.
Okay, yeah.
So off I go and I'm just going to shoo the monkey away.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you one thing. That monkey attacked me straight away.
Really, yeah.
The problem is he had been so used to being fed by people.
Yeah.
And when someone said, no, you're not coming here to attack, you need to understand primate psychology. So if you're in this whole little family and you're all sitting along there and here comes big boy,
Yeah.
I like what you're eating, whoops, I'll have it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to give it to you. Okay, well, I'll give you a good bite then.
Yeah.
Right? And when humans start feeding them, so what happens is, he's the big man. So now you come, oh yeah, have a little banana. Oh, that's nice. Now this human's scared of me. I'm the boss here now.
Yeah.
So when he doesn't get what he wants, then he starts to become mean. So now I've got to look at the situation. So we're talking 30, 40 meters up,
Yeah.
right? We've got people. Now, if they start coming down,
Yeah.
right, and that monkey attacks them, and someone falls, which is perfectly feasible,
yeah.
falls to their death, who's going to be responsible?
Yeah.
In the meantime, there's a whole troop of vervets that live in that area,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
What is going to happen? If someone falls to their death because of a vervet monkey, every single monkey in that troop will have to be killed. They will insist on it. And you can't blame them, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Vervets are not endangered. They're very common species, right? And they're a problem species in a lot of areas. So I have to make those calls, which are sometimes brutal. I felt sorry for him because, you know, it's not really his fault,
Yeah.
right? But I also have to say, well, you know, if someone falls to their death because of this monkey, and he really was aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, I told you the story of the baboon. So I get a phone call from the district commissioner. And he says, hey Arnold, he says, there's a baboon in town.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? And I ignored
P-side,
it. Yeah, in P.
P-side.
I ignored it because I always do that. I just ignore it and I hope that he goes away somewhere
Yeah,
else.
okay.
You know, and goes and
Okay.
finds his own little
Yes.
whatever and just disappears out of sight. Because I know the end's never going to be pleasant. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
So eventually after 2 days, the district commissioner phoned me, he says, Arnold, he says the baboon just went through a play school,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
You ought to come now and shoot it.
Okay.
So off I go. Shoot the baboon.
Yeah.
Clean shot, clean kill. He didn't even know he was dead. He was showing me. He was sitting on a roof. I'll never forget. Sitting there quietly. Shot him through the head. Stone dead. No problem. Take the baboon away. Now, of course, every single bunny hugger and animal rights person is up in arms. You know, oh, how could you do that? It's brutal. It's cruel. Right. First of all, obviously I have a permit to do it. I was asked by the area commissioner. There's not even a legal
all
problem,
legal.
even though some people allegedly try to open case, and they can do that kind of stuff. I know what I'm doing is right.
Yeah.
Point of the matter is, take a guess what happened a year later. A year later, on a friend of mine's brother's farm in Natal,
Yeah.
a baboon actually killed a young child.
Yeah. Well, they're bloody
So
strong. I mean,
they're strong and
super
they're mean. And the problem is you have to make those kinds of decisions. And people, you have all of these, you know, I told you the Elmira Fudd syndrome. I want to love, I want to hug, I want to cuddle, I want to kiss, I want to hold this thing.
Yeah.
There's always that continuous line between humans and wildlife. And I've got to tread both sides of that line. Sometimes I've got to make a decision based on what's better for humans and sometimes for animals. And it's a very difficult thing for me sometimes because I'm not a very people kind of person. As far as I'm concerned, my greatest sadness was that COVID didn't do its job properly. You know, it's a bit of a letdown. You know, one of those things, really a letdown. We needed to lose a couple of billion. What have we lost? Virtually nothing. You know, so there's not even a negligible. And probably with all of these people lying at home doing nothing, there's probably more babies born now than ever. So we're actually on a positive population growth, which is very negative for the world. But
you
anyway,
have rather more. The animals were growing and the humans were going. That's good. That's good for Arnold.
but you know, you've got to look at the big picture. And you know, the big picture is that you cannot manage wildlife without controlling it. And there's some species we need to protect to ensure their survival. There are other species we need to control, often not just for humans' benefit, but to protect other indigenous species so they can survive and thrive. And it is a very, very fine balance. And I often, you know, I look at things and I just wish I could be so wear these rose-tinted glasses and look at life simply. I'll give you a classic example. So schools have a lot of problems with pigeons.
Okay, yes.
Right. So everyone says, Arnold, bring in a raptor. It's not possible to fly hawks every day and chase
They're
pigeons.
not going to listen to you.
No, they don't listen. The point of the matter is pigeons are pretty sharp. And that's why they're one of the most invasive species. No, feral pigeons. So now you sit with a problem, right? You've got a school. Right? They've got children, they're young children. Right? You've got bird lice falling on them all day. Do you think it's right? Do you think it's right to say now, oh, well, leave those pigeons alone. It's just bird lice, doesn't really matter. It's minor health hazard. Leave those pigeons alone. Or do they need to be controlled? They're feral invasive species, they need to be controlled. That's it. There's not a negotiable factor on that. Another instance, I get a call from a school. We've got bats in the tree. Now, bats and I have a great love relationship. I love bats. I love anything that makes humans feel creepy, and bats are one of them. There's you hear people screaming, and here come little bat along, wheeling, wailing. Yeah. So I get a phone call from a school. Same thing. We got bats in the tree. I looked at them and I said, hey, you just leave those bats alone. They present no threat to you or the kids. There's no health risk. They're outside. They're Wahlberg's epileptic fruit bat. Lovely colony. Take the kids and give them some environmental lessons with those bats. You just leave them alone. Do you understand the difference? Yeah. But I can't go and do that when someone says, hey, Arnold, we've got a problem with feral pigeons. We've got lice all over the place.
Yes,
we've got a feces thing. Those birds need to be controlled. That's it. So it is a very, very difficult thing sometimes for me to play both roles. But it's a job that has to be done. And in the instance of that monkey, I saved the whole of that troop. By taking him out and his aggression and that, another troop leader will be aggressive one day, but in the meantime, that troop will carry on and people will leave them alone.
So that's the big picture. Is that?
I've always got to look at a much bigger picture than just that thing. And it is very, very difficult because animal rights are a very emotive issue, which is why I believe in animal welfare. If animal rights people had their way, nobody would ride horses, nobody would do anything, and animals would be worshipped almost like demigods. I believe that animals need to be looked after. They need not to be treated cruelly. Right? People need to be kind to their animals and look after them really well. And I have a big problem with cats. So I have a really big problem with cats. But I've got a confession to make. There's not one of these cat lovers that has more cats than I do that I've rescued and haven't had the heart to put down. The other day, right? But you know what the difference is? The difference is I'm putting my money where my mouth is and I'm building a big cattery. Because I cannot have cats free ranging and killing all wildlife. So if I like cats, there's a price I pay. They have a big cattery to live in. They can come into the house, but they don't go into the garden. That's it, end of story. But the other day, I got a call for a warehouse. Massive cat problem. So they asked me to look at it. What do I suggest? So I said, have you spoken to the cat people? No, they'd spoken to them. So they found a whole heap of kittens. And I said, what's going on? And they said, no, they said, we'll just put them back in the factory. I said, whoever said that a factory is a place to have cats? Factories with people and containers and forklifts racing around. That's not a place you keep domestic animals. But you see, because people will not accept responsibility and say, we need to take all those cats out and euthanize them, they don't actually belong in factories. It's not kind, it's not good, it's not anything. They don't belong there. But no, I just put that whole batch of kittens. I took the kittens home, had them inoculated, treated, and I got one or two friends and they took them and I kept two. Because I felt sorry for them. But the point of the matter is even though I like cats, they cause way too much damage for wildlife. And every time I look at my Bengal, because I've got a beautiful Bengal male, but he's a murderer. There's no ways I can ever let him out with a clear conscience because I know every bird will be gone. I spend so much time trying to encourage birds into my garden, naturally, which we can go back to another thing is humans like instant gratification. So we always want this, I want to see a result straight away. I don't want to wait a couple of years for a result. I want
the internet generation. It's true.
Exactly. So feeding birds. Feeding birds.
Okay.
We love feeding birds. Oh, look at this. I've got 55 different species coming to my bird feeder.
Yes.
What's wrong about bird feeding? Encourages rats. Do you know that 98%... Are you feeding birds in your garden? Be honest.
I have
be honest.
I have been known to feed birds.
Look at you blushing, eh? There we go, caught out. Got a rat problem, eh?
It's my wife that's doing it. It's her. Arnold, not me.
Okay, so what happens is if you put a camera up by your bird feeder at night, you'll find house rats hanging on there eating. What is a house rat? Frugivorous seed eater, right?
So
So
catch those bastards.
problem is you bringing them, you feeding them. What happens within the animal population? When you feed it, it breeds. Now you like birds, so you won't put out poison.
Yes. Yeah, no.
What do you think your neighbour's going to do who doesn't mind putting out poison?
No, he just
What
doesn't.
happens? All your owls, all your other predators in the area get poisoned. Why? Because we need instant gratification. We don't take cognizance of the fact that bird feeders spread disease. In the wild, no bird all comes and sits on exactly the
Same
same
thing.
place and feeds. So every disease gets spread. And who are the people that find, oh, I've got 20 dead birds in my garden. Are you feeding birds? Yes, I'm feeding birds. I said, why do you think you've got 20 dead birds? You've got so much disease, you're not a bird feeder. The only way to really have a bird feeder is take it down 5 times a day, spray it off with F10, clean off all of that stuff, etc. And no matter what feeder you've got, birds waste. And they throw that seed out and at night the rats are there. So, when you tell people that,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, yeah, how can you say that? And I said, no. Do you know what happens? So we get a lot of birds in, a lot of seed eaters and stuff. You get them in their nest.
Yeah.
Right? What is that nest? That nest is lined with seeding grass. Why? That's how that bird learns to eat. So the parents come back, they bring a whole grass seed head, they put it in there. That bird learns to strip the seed off the grass seed head.
Okay.
What happens when a bird gets taught to go to a feeder? Takes the youngster, takes it back to the feeder. Oh, look, this is where you find food. Tick, tick, tick. Not pull off those
Easy.
seed heads and that kind of stuff. So bird feeding is very detrimental to birds. The right way to do it, the way I do it, plant indigenous trees, that flower, fruit, seed, let them come and forage. I was looking at my garden this afternoon. Crossberries are there. The trees are full of birds, harvesting crossberries and that. The right way to do it. Putting out bird seed, it's that old instant gratification. It brings rats. And with rats comes poison. And with poison, all your owls go west. And that is one of the saddest things. Again, it's one of those human failings where I can't really... Well, people like to think it's drought and they're feeding these birds and keeping them alive. But drought, you know what nature's about? It's about survival of the fittest. So when a drought time comes, it doesn't kill all the birds. It's just the very best, the very cleverest, and those are the ones that survive. Right? So...
Sure.
All we need to do is provide water, provide some good indigenous flowering plants, seeds, berries, etc. that the birds can actually feed on, right? And you know what's interesting? Bird feeders attract a lot of pigeons,
Yes.
right? Which is one of the reasons for the ever-expanding pigeon population, which brings its own problem, right? And with natural fruit and that, you barely ever see pigeons harvesting, only green fruit pigeons which are moved into town. You ask me why I feel so passionate about the environment. If I look in my time now in the past 20 years, I've seen 11 local extinctions of animals that have become extinct that once occurred in our urban area, which is very, very sad to me, And
They're specific to the area, isn't it?
no, they're found in other areas, but these were species that occurred within our metro area, which have now become extinct because of various pressures, be it pollution, be it hunting. And the other pressure where it comes on me a lot is with all of the pressure in the Barkens Valley, all of the hunting and stuff, a lot of wildlife is pushed out of the Barkens into the suburbs. So you get people finding and say, I've got an otter in my garden,
Yes, there's an otter
I've got a
running
bush.
around. In Woomera.
Well, that wasn't even nice because that was actually chased by dogs. That's why I was up there.
A chase by dogs.
That's why I was
in
up
6th
there.
Avenue,
Yes, chased by dogs,
Oh, my
unfortunately. Well, Cape Otters make a good account for themselves. I can tell you a great story about Cape Road.
Yeah.
One Friday night, I get a phone call. Arnold, we've got a Cape Otter in my garden. Right? This is in Cape Road, main Cape Road. So I said, okay, I'll come and catch it now. By the time it took me probably about 15 minutes to get there because I had to get a big cage strap, etc., etc. 15 minutes later, it went through 5 gardens. And you know how I know it went through 5 gardens? Because every garden had put a dog at the vet. Ching, ching, ching. There was just a line of dogs going to the vet as it sorted. So a big Cape Claws otter weighs about 25 kg. He's got a mean set of fangs on him. And he doesn't back down for a good Barney. He loves a good Barney. So, and then very well known to kill dogs are going to the water and that often. But unfortunately, they can't manage a pack of dogs.
Yeah, of course.
So, when you get these packs that come into the Barkens with these guys poaching, the otters don't do well. So it's massive pressure. But that's the kind of stuff I deal with a lot. So... I cannot even tell you the things that happen because people like fun. People love exaggerating. So they'll phone and say, I got this massive snake. Now you're expecting something like something out of the movie Anaconda and this little thing sitting there quivering. Point of the matter is one day I get a guy and he phones me and says, I've got a buck in my garden. No, buck, crace buck,
Yeah.
maybe a grey duck, crace buck right next to bark. And I get there and I kid you not, it's a full-grown bushbuck ram. Now, bushbuck rams don't stand back for anything.
Okay.
Well, let me tell you, he made me sweat. He really made me sweat catching him. But,
Well, it's lovely to know that these they do come down, and we see it every now and again. A buck coming through the valley, and we in the middle of Woolman, so it's they obviously make their way down.
You know what the sad thing was? There were bushbuck all over here. A couple of years ago, they were all over here. If you drove carefully and looked, you would see them from the road, standing and feeding in the morning sun. And those buck are all gone.
Gone now.
This area is poached to hell. It really is poached. And it started with COVID, and nobody's doing anything about it.
See, my wife is asking questions now that she's been called out for feeding the birds. Is it wrong to have an owl breeding box near your garden?
Okay, so a lot of people ask me about owl nest boxes. So if you go to the whole owl nest box story, it's a very romantic story.
Yes.
It seems nice,
Yes.
right? So
The beautiful owls.
98. How long is 98 ago?
98, it's 24 years ago.
Jeez.
24
Okay.
years ago, young
24
man.
years 24 years ago, I put up the first raptor nest box in town. That was long before owl nest boxes were the vogue.
Okay.
Right. So already I've been experimenting with that. And a lot of people have been fed the idea, I just put up an owl nest box and you won't have a rat problem.
Yeah.
It's part of a solution. Right?
Okay.
But if you're in a circumstance where the owls already have a very good nest site,
Yeah.
now you know that 23, 24 years ago, most eagle owls bred in the ground.
Oh.
Yeah. And those are interesting concept, eh? Those that breed in the ground have eventually been wiped out by dogs and people, and we get more of them that breed in trees now.
yeah.
So the Barkans, most of my nests in the Barkans were on the ground at the base of a tree. Wow. So when owls have a really good nesting site, they're not going to come and hop into your box and say, oh, well, God, I like this place. But it works very well in the circumstance maybe where you don't have nice big trees close by, because I've seen them attached on the side of, in Lorraine, I've got 3 attached to the side of buildings there, and they've all got owls that breed in them every year. So you can attach it to the side of a building quite high up, or that. But if you've got really big old dead trees, the owls are not going to just come wandering to your
We've
nest
got
box.
an oak tree here, which we put up in the oak tree.
You can put it up.
I know it's been there for ages, but no bloody owls have come near it.
Because are you hearing owls?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, well then they've got a good site, so they're not going to use your site. Along here they would probably use the cliff faces and that are really nice. They would probably be breeding there. So
nice.
if you want to hear a good story about an owl, old guy phones me, I want to put up an owl nest box. So I give him, that classic information. Get it up as high as you can, 4 or 5 meters up, put the box, face it the right way, etc., etc.
Yes, what's the right way to face
Okay,
it?
face it, starting in the prevailing weather,
Okay,
bloody,
yes,
blah.
yes, okay.
A year later, I get a phone call from the old guy. I've got my box up, but one of the babies is sick. Will you come and have a look?
Oh.
I kid you not. He put the box up. I don't even think it was a meter off the ground. The damn owl's bred in it. After me giving all of those careful instructions, 5 meters up,
And he gets
face
it
it
right.
out the window, he puts it on the ground almost, and the owls hop in, they breed in it. I was so disgusted with those birds, really. That's the problem with animals.
taste.
You know when you know nothing about wildlife, you say, it'll never do that. It's like kids, horses and dogs. Right? Never say it'll never do that. Wildlife will do what it chooses to do. So when you put an owl nest box up, I like 4 or 5 meters up. But like I say, you put it 1 meter off the ground, the owls breed it quite happily. And there they wanted a suitable nest site, and that was good for them. It's in an area where there's not a lot of pressure, so they could breed quite happily there.
Oh, lovely. But let's have a look at some more questions, some more comments here. You're a legend, says Meryl Levington. She said, me too, she says. You're also a legend then, Meryl. I think that was something else. Wendy says, we must catch the rat like Gino did, in a cage. Yes, and then we'll bring it for these raptors to eat. That's right. I think somebody says they can use ducks. Josh Klein says facts. Natalie New says they can use ducks to catch snails. Can they do that?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, they've been doing that
Ducks.
for a long time. Yes, ducks are very good. Ducks are very good.
Proper.
And some of the poultry will catch snails. Some chickens and that also sort snails out.
Chickens as well. So you can have a chicken or two. But then the problem, we've had chickens here, but then the Janets get the chickens. I like the way you think, says Socrates. And then, let's see, watching from New Zealand. Thank you, Chris. Lovely. We've actually, somebody better tag old Ronald Minnar. He's going to miss out because he normally watches from New Zealand as well. Kathy Newman says, did your interest in wildlife start at junior school? Did you have a mentor?
Okay, so here's the interesting fact. This is the harsh fact of life. You see, my parents told me, and it's urban legend, right? The same parents that I believe COVID would get rid of but didn't work on them. But they said to me that I was just under 4 years of age and they took me to Joburg Zoo. And when the time came to leave the zoo, I hung on the bars and I refused to leave and told them to go home. So it started a lot longer. So, yeah.
You should be nicer to them if that's the case, Arnold. I can't imagine that you'd be the easiest child to
well, I'll be honest with you.
raise.
By the time I think I was about 9 years old, my mother never came into my room at all because I had a puff adder that was pregnant in my bedside cabinet. And she didn't know about it. And she opened it and had the babies, and this whole batch of puff adder babies fell out onto the floor. So she stopped immediately, never came to my room again. I split the half of my room and I put up a mesh. And I had worm slungs and all kinds of things. By the time I was 10 or 12, I used to spend what did I do after school? I'd run those old army rucksacks on my back, bottles, snakes, scorpions, frogs, spiders.
Holy moly.
Mount Pleasant Flay, that was my hunting ground.
Really?
That's how I knew when they came up. I don't know if you saw that little Barney I had about Mount Pleasant Flay. They said, this is not a wetland, this is just a borrow pit.
Oh, right.
And they got horribly sorted out of that one, and they had to stop all of that illegal digging of that wetland.
Okay.
Yes, well, that was my stomping ground. So that's where I grew up, collecting all of those things. So from a kid, and my grandparents farmed, so, I was always on the farm. Where
were you born? PE born, okay.
So when I got to the farm, the first thing I had to do is disappear, and they never see me the whole day. And then late at night, I'd come back muddy, dirty, clutching some newfound thing. What books did I read? Gerald Durrell. Always loved Gerald Durrell, David Attenborough, those people. So, you go into all of that stuff, and then you look at the big picture.
Yeah.
And again, I go back to the thing. People have a lot to say about zoos and that.
Yeah.
But the future of a lot of wildlife lies in very good zoos. Do you know how many zoos or breeding species that are extinct in the wild are virtually extinct and reintroducing them? And Gerald Durrell, who was my big hero, he's long dead, but his zoo, Jersey Zoo, is one of the most famous zoos in the world for reintroduction of species that were extinct, especially in Madagascar. Yeah. So, you sit and you look at all of the crap, and you've got to sort through the crap and decide for yourself and come up with things. But, it's like saying all zoos are bad. Bullshit. There are a lot of zoos that are doing amazing work. And, one of the things I feel very strongly about. So, here I go, find a damaged turtle. Who do I take it to? I take it to Baywall. They have the most amazing people there to look after these turtles. And most amazing.
I saw you found it was an invasive turtle, but when you don't want
to
that's
a red-eared slider.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. That was an interesting one. That teaches you be careful because fine. I now got a turtle in my garden. I nearly said, "Listen, go and chuck it in the nearest dam." And something said to me, WhatsApp me a photo. And I saw, red-eared slider. Bad news.
So Australian, is this?
No, North American.
North American, okay, wow.
But, Baywall does the most amazing work. There's Sherry who looks after the seals and all of that stuff. And then you have Sandkop. You have all these people doing amazing work, and then you watch our organisation like Baywall get slighted. They do the most amazing work under the most difficult conditions. They really have difficult working conditions, but they do their best.
Could they not? Could it not be because nobody really wants to see an animal that's caged and sitting in a little spot, So, is there not a way that you could, if they could be rehabilitated there, people could see them while they rehabilitate, and then out to the.
Well, all of those things get released. What do you think? They hang on to everything. It all gets fixed and released.
Okay.
Like I do,
Yeah.
Fixed and released, and. That is always the thing for me. That is why I feel very strongly about one-sided sentiments on any topic. Those emotive, this is all bad, and that. Yeah. You've got to look.
There's a spectrum, I suppose.
At a broad spectrum. You've got to keep your horizon, and you've got to understand that the world is a very, very complicated place. And the management of wildlife is a very complicated issue. Yeah. And I can understand, I'll give you a classic example. So, I get a phone call from a woman.
Yeah.
I better tell you. I've got a warmer story for you. I'll tell you this warmer story. And this is why we know that wildlife is on a downward trend. But let me tell you the real story.
Yeah.
Something caught my cat.
Something caught my cat.
Yeah. Where did it happen? In my house. Oh, jeez. In your house. Yes, no, son.
Okay.
You won't believe it. Crowned eagle. zip, through the house, caught 3 of her cats inside the house.
Holy
Off the table, out the other window.
Is that here in Walmart?
Yeah, no, not in
I
Warmer.
was
The
gonna
Warmer
say.
story is even better.
Okay.
So now, of
Okay.
course, I'm really revved up on this crowned eagle story because this is
Okay.
pretty cool stuff. I mean, you know, you got to be a really sneaky eagle to come zip through a house,
Nice.
grab a cat, and zip out the other side. And funny, the first crowned eagle I saw as a kid was sitting in a tree. And you know, crowned eagles are stealth hunters, so they sit dead still.
Okay.
And I heard a cat going, meow, meow, meow. And I looked around, where's this cat? Where's this cat? And then I looked up, and I'll never forget, there was a young crowned eagle sitting probably the height of this roof. There's a yellowwood tree above me, and he had this big ginger Tom in his talons, like, and he was just sitting dead still. So the crowned eagles, I think, got shot, actually.
Oh, wow.
In fact, I did, I did hear they got shot some time ago by somebody, which is very sad. But crowned eagles in suburbia will take a lot of small dogs and cats and that, so some pet owner, no doubt, lost it with them.
Ways.
So now comes the best story. This is why, and this is from your suburb, so you should appreciate it.
Yes.
I get a phone call. Now, this is just after this crowned eagle went through the house,
Yeah.
grabbed Kitty out the other side, did it 3 times,
Yeah,
3
yeah.
cats,
Jeez,
Grim
like
Reaper.
3 cats.
So I get a phone call from your suburb up here.
Yeah.
Listen, this house should be on top billing. I've never seen a house as magnificent as this. You know, I felt like a peasant getting to the gate, right? You know, there's almost like a butler to greet me.
Yes,
Anyway,
yes.
the story is that a large eagle had come into the house, right, attacked them,
Okay.
and they'd had to get out the way. So, of course, there are crowned eagles in the valley at that time. So I'm thinking, juvenile crown, this is now the real stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I'm pretty chuffed now,
Yeah,
juvenile
yeah,
crown,
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to take a kid,
Yes.
one less human, blah, 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 blah. It's interesting record. By the way, crowned eagles have got quite a nasty record with that.
Really?
Yes, in the
Take it.
forests of Zaire.
Yeah, really.
You know, you get the
They're big
pygmies
enough.
that do the forest, the slash and burn. What do
Yes.
they do? Take the baby off the back, put it in the shade of a tree, small baby like that. Adult female crowned eagle will take on a 3/4 grown bushbuck ram. I actually watched one day. Listen, it broke a road down the side of a cliff, literally knocking everything over, rolling with a bushbuck ram. So they're mean predators, and the youngsters are quite aggressive. They're not shy to take. I had one that I trained, a male, and eventually I released him back into the wild because he wanted to take my dogs all the time. As you got,
Yeah.
you know, Mr. Big Boy, then you thought, no, I like these dogs, I might have a dog flapper. Anyway, point of the matter, so now we come to the house that is the mansion and beyond mansions to save these people from this vicious eagle.
Yes.
Right? Now, please, folks, I mean, there was a colour TV probably bigger than your window on the wall. You know, all of the, you can imagine the scene, all of the decor and stuff. So in I go, I march in. Here's this lady, she's got 2 kids hiding behind her.
Yes.
Terrified. For shame, you know, these kids have been through real trauma. The crown eagle's pretty mean, you know.
Yeah.
You've seen those set of talons that big, you know, chasing the kids around the house. Anyway, going to the kitchen. Where's this vicious bird of prey? Right, no sign of it. So, where's this bird? No, they think it's gone into the pantry. Going to the pantry, I kid you not, there was a baby Naznaluri. A pitch-back baby Naznaluri. And you know what Naznaluris do when they're scared? They jump in the air and they bite at you like that. Well, you know, I looked at it and I came out with it under my... In fact, that Naznaluri had its own story. But I came with it out on my arm and I thought, you know, this is why the world's screwed. This is why the world's screwed, people. This is where we go.
They can't fly very far. So
No, it was a baby. It couldn't even fly. It was still a downy. Didn't even have proper feathers. Just a little black puff going trying to bite
Jumping
everyone to
around.
protect itself.
And is that true that they can't they have to go down or they don't go very far. They live in the valleys or in the valley because they can't fly very far. They have to be at a higher level to go to the next level. How do they move around? You know.
That story is very similar to the story of the whakawi bird. You know the story of the whakawi bird? Oh, there we go. Where'd you come on that one? Those things glide pretty well.
Yeah,
you know,
they do. I've seen them glide nicely, but I mean, don't they have to be higher than they were before? So they need to have tall trees. Or
no.
something?
I can tell you how I gained my...
Yes.
Listen, I can...
I was told that. I won't even bring up who told me that.
No, rather let's leave that one out of the thing. Right, so I've raised more than the odd Naznaluri, and they're highly entertaining. So I'll let one go out of my garden, because I would like to see it come back every now and then, say hello and how things, and etc., etc. Now this one it was destined for death. I've never in my life seen such a dumb bird.
Okay.
You know, because what it would do,
Knievel.
now my whole area there has raptors second to none, and a nice little lory is hardly a speedster of creation. Right?
Yeah, no.
So it would come gliding from a big blue gum across an open field, like 300 meters of open field, where every peregrine falcon that's sitting on a pylon watching just sees a snack coming underneath to come say hello to me. And eventually I was too scared that the lory would see I was in the garden, because if he was over there, he'd just come gliding, and I would go, oh, where's the peregrine now? Where's the peregrine now? Anyway, so he survived, and then he disappeared. And I thought, okay, well, you got eaten, boy. A year later, I go to a guy in Benkama. He's got a poison owl in his garden. He says, pick up the owl's poison, okay, etc., etc. He says, before you go, I want to ask you something. He says, I've got a nice little lory that visits you, and it's got a ring on it. I said, oh, is it?
No way.
And he says, it loves my granddaughter, and she goes outside and she calls and waves a banana and it comes to eat. That's after a year that bugger was still bumming off people. So I've got a soft spot for nice lories. They are quite entertaining characters in their own right.
And indigenous birds and animals, I mean, like you say, it's more like a feral thing. How do you distinguish, like the Egyptian geese, for instance, are they indigenous as well, or they're just too many of them, or is it that they're coming in from elsewhere?
Okay, so with Egyptian geese, they're indigenous, but they're very invasive.
Okay.
So they just get on too well with humans.
What should one do when Egyptian geese keep coming to one's pool?
Keep chasing them away.
We won't say it's your pool then, Wendy.
Keep chasing them away.
Chase them away. Wendy will never chase them away.
No, you've got to keep chasing them. That's the problem, because when they settle, you will regret that day, because your pool will be a green mess.
Really?
No, very, very bad.
I think
So-
she'll be okay with the green pool.
No, listen, I'm not. The problem with Egyptian geese, for me, the big problem has been the last couple of years, is the pure fact that owls are threatening enough in the urban environment. The last thing they need is, and they take because the owls choose an nest site that's very similar to what geese like. Yeah. Let me go to an amazing story about Egyptian geese. Yeah. So, I've got 2 raptor nest boxes up on the Sasco silos. Now those silos are high. You know the ones
Warm.
next? No, down there. Next to the freeway, there we go to Swartkorp, those big silos, right? The one nest box is bred in by peregrine falcons. The other side one, every year the Egyptians come and breed. So one day I'm going to check on the peregrines, right? And I'll watch the most amazing sight. So the mother flies across, she goes and sits on the other side silo, and she calls. And like little parabats, they just jump out. One after the other. They fall the whole length of the silo, land on the concrete, and just walk away. Like little tumbles. They go all the way to the ground, they just all walk away. Yes. I watched it. It was absolutely magnificent to watch. Now, what is very interesting, in America, they had the Carolina wood ducks, and Carolina wood ducks were on the verge of extinction, so they needed to breed them in captivity. Okay. But they weren't capable of getting the chicks to feed. Yeah. And then one clever boykie found out they need to fall to stimulate feeding.
Oh, no.
So Egyptian geese, the babies definitely need that tumble, because they'll often breed high up in trees, and you'll find the babies on the ground following the mother. Yes. They need that tumble to get them going. The problem is, like I said, they like a lot of the good nest sites that owls choose in the hollows and they're just way too aggressive. Yeah. And it was fine when there was a pair in each river, but now there's 500 in each river. Yeah. And of course they like swimming pools, and people feel sorry. The next thing there's 12 babies in the pool, and they're feeding them every day. They're cute in that, and that's when the menace starts. Yeah. And of course they carry a lot of bacteria in those feces and stuff, which get into your pool water. Not very good to be swimming around drinking that, although P's water's pretty much the same.
Crap anyway.
Yeah, just drink your pool water. It's probably better than water out the taps.
Yeah.
So just drink it like that.
Well, I know that Garth Sampson's been the grim reaper for us. He's telling us that the water's running out very quickly. We've got to make some sort of plan. Candice Rose saying, very interesting to watch Arnold Slabbert. Well done, she says. What about cattle in urban areas? My dog and I were chased by a large bull.
It is a very interesting concept, that because the municipality is actually responsible. And if you're injured or maimed or killed or anything, let me just get on to the rabies thing. The rabies thing on its own is very interesting. So we sit with the worst rabies outbreak ever. There's no doubt in that. It is the worst ever. Now, a lot of it... At the moment, right? A lot of it has been kept very quiet, and I'm sure there are good reasons for it. The municipality is responsible for rabies surveillance. So let's see how much rabies surveillance the municipality, because what actually happens if you do your surveillance properly, now you pick up rabies in X Then you immediately start a real vaccination program, you get rid of the feral dogs, etc., etc. But this didn't happen. So rabies is now spread. There's not a suburb in PE where there's not rabies. Right. More importantly, if you look at the whole of the States, right? The States, big place, billion people or what? Take guess how many people die from rabies in the States in a year. What do you think?
It can't be too many. I mean, I'd have to say like 1,000.
2 people a year. How many people have died from rabies in PE, one little city, in the past 2 or 3 months?
2.
About 14,
Really?
mostly children. The last case was in Utenhage this weekend.
Really? So it's still going, eh?
We have,
Because it was in the
of
paper
course.
when it started. There were two
Of course,
cases
it's
in
still
the paper.
going. Now the problem we're sitting with is this. So people like myself that are in the field the whole time, you can actually pick it up. Like in the Kucha area and that, you can see the dead animals lying there in the riverbeds and stuff. And you can see.
The wild animals die as well.
Yes, of course. Everything. You know, there are a lot of different species. In fact, all mammals can get rabies. Even horses and cattle can get rabies. So you see all of these animals lying there. Yellow mongoose, Cape Greys, all of them just lying dead. What happens when a wild animal is sick? Normally, goes into a nice, quick, quiet, thick, dark place and dies. With rabies, it's different. It loses that mental capacity to think I need to get into. So they'll just die out in the open. And dogs and that too. You just find them dead or dying in the open. So we sit with all of that. And that is the direct result of people not doing their work properly. Because it is very interesting. So when we had a very bad rabies outbreak in the city many years ago, I'm talking about the early 19th century. And the only way it was controlled was every single dog found wandering was killed.
Yes.
Every single dog found wandering around all over was killed.
I read about that. In PE, it was.
Yes.
It was early 1900s.
Exactly.
I did an history thing.
But so what effectively happened is it was the only way to start bringing control to what is happening. So you now sit with a problem. You sit with these cattle all over the place. If someone gets injured by one of those cattle, right, technically speaking, the municipality, who we pay our rates and taxes to, is the responsible person. They are responsible. There's a lot of legal factors, right, that people do not even consider. And the municipality doesn't consider it because they've got away with it for years. That pollution of the river is another legal factor. You know, they got away with a little case, a little bit of threatening, and they're getting away with it. It's the same with all of this stuff. If you get killed or injured by domestic stock, the municipality is responsible for preventing domestic stock. They should not be farming in the middle of town. I find it kind of cute. I love seeing those cattle wandering around. But they listen. You can get killed. A lot of those cattle are pretty wild, and if they got a car for that and you walk past with a dog, they'll go for you in 5 seconds. You know?
So they can be dangerous.
Very dangerous.
What about the dussies? How do you control the spread? Because the dussies are quite. It depends on what area, I think.
Okay,
There's
so
not a lot around.
very, very interesting thing, because you're now bringing me to a point which is close to my heart. I've done my best over the years to encourage people to a large degree to try and live with wildlife. Mongooses, for example, are one of the species. You know, mongooses catch a lot of snakes, they catch rats, they're nice to have around.
They catch Egyptian geese, because we
They
had
catch,
one.
they catch a lot of guys. They're a natural form of control. My problem now is rabies, because rabies is in dussies as well. Yes, unfortunately. So now with a clear conscience, I can't go to people and say, oh, just ignore that mongoose, it's fine, it's not going to attack, because of the rabies situation. And we are getting rabies in dussies. Not even debatable. So, in fact, someone was bitten by a rabid dussie in the northern area.
And is Dassie also, it's not invasive, it's actually a...
In some areas, dussies can be a real problem. You see...
But they're not from a different country, not from a different area, they're not brought in.
No, dussies are indigenous to the area. But your problem with your dussies is, they're no problem if there's a lot of natural predators. But immediately the natural predators are less, they can forage further. Old story, the more food you get, the more you breed, etc., etc. So very much like vervet monkeys. So if you look at vervet monkeys and dussies, they're very much in the same circumstance. The main predator on dussies in the summer month is actually lynx. Believe it or not, before all of this crap and poaching started, they actually reintroduced a fair amount of African lynx, caracal, back into the valley again.
Further up, obviously.
No, but because they are very, very... In fact, the majority of a lynx's diet, I must be careful of using that word lynx. It's
Yeah.
not really, it's caracal, but
Caracal,
I come from the
okay.
old days as an African lynx.
Okay.
Anyway, the
Those are the
majority
things
of
that the farmers always want to shoot, isn't it?
yeah, the
A
majority
caracal.
of a lynx's diet is dassies. In a very well managed area, the summer diet is mainly dassie.
Okay.
So I introduced dassies into the valley, but unfortunately, all the poaching and the hunting and that, it's just not possible for these caracal to survive that long without, because they get chased by the dogs and that continuously.
Yeah.
So without that predation, without crowned eagles hunting the dassies and that, they're able to forage right out into the open. So they have an unlimited food supply, and gardens are very good food supply.
Yes.
And they can just, like everything else, just breed and breed and breed. So if you go to vervet monkeys, for example, if you go to a natural area, a troop of vervet monkeys is 10 animals. If you come round town, around Marine Drive, you can find anywhere from 30 to 70 animals in a troop. Right. Why?
Yeah.
Easy food,
Yeah.
right? Lack of natural predation. Main predator on monkeys, crowned eagle.
Really?
Crowned eagle is if a monkey can't wander out into the open if there are crowned eagles around, and they're terrified of crowned eagles. What happens? Limits the food availability. They don't breed as much.
Yeah.
Crowned eagles catch a lot of monkeys. Leopards help, and so do African rock python. So leopards we still have in our general area. African rock python, the Grahamstown area, they originally would have occurred down here, but Grahamstown area, the African rocks. Leopards and crowned eagles, of course, won't occur in town.
Yeah,
but lynx, I must need to get used to this.
caracal.
I'm an old man. Caracal.
Yes.
Caracal.
Yeah.
Caracal are very, very efficient predators of dassies. Very, very good predators on them. But because you've got no predation and you've got lots of food, they will just, population will grow and grow and grow. And unfortunately, like I say, rabies is now in dassies. So.
Because I mean, with the farmers always wanted to shoot it out there, but surely maybe we should. You could. Are they dangerous to humans? Caracal?
No. That's
They
why I
keep
introduced them
themselves.
quietly. Yeah, and just a couple of adult caracal in
Really?
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, particularly
That's
from
fantastic.
farming areas where they regard as a pest.
Okay.
And they settle down quite well. And there's a lot of food for them here. But the
Yeah.
problem is, it's a sad, vicious cycle.
Yeah.
If we don't control the poaching in the valley, if we
Yeah.
don't control, because
Dumping and poaching and
Dumping,
because dumping
poaching,
it's also
destruction.
There's dumping here, small little 20 bags that they keep on bringing every year, clean it up and then they bring it back again. But the animals are there. That's an easy food, isn't it? I mean, that's the problem.
The sad thing is that everything has to be managed, and if there's no management in place, it just goes to you know what. And the problem with our valley is that there is no management in place. There is nobody. The people that are supposed to look after the valley don't give a damn. Let's be honest about that. They actually don't give a damn. And then you've got this continuous sewage problem.
Yeah.
But the valley could actually be a wildlife paradise if we are prepared to put the effort in. It could. Do you know what? Actually, it was the most amazing sight, and I won't forget it. For the first time in 30 years, I saw some wild mountain reedbuck on the edge of PE.
Really?
And those are proper wild.
big-
They used to be there. Now, every now and then I've been called to catch mountain reedbuck in the middle of town.
Yeah.
And there was this little herd the other day of mountain reedbuck. And I said to myself, this is absolutely amazing. Just that little glimmer of hope again. But the problem is it's going to take very, very proactive management of the whole area. And the municipality, the way it looks, there is nothing proactive about it.
Yeah.
They're not even reactive. They're just inactive.
Yeah.
And that is the problem facing us, because the valley needs to be managed properly. And if we can get the decent management into the valley, it can be an amazing place.
The private sector is going to have to. We're going to have to get private sector in. Isn't that the only way to do it at the moment? Where we can try and assist and at least if municipality can do something, we can add to it. I think everybody's got to get involved. You always got to think about it. If everybody, there's a big population here in PE. If everybody thinks about it and everybody tries to do something, it becomes a small task for everybody, and it grows. I mean, is that the case? Or
It's about will. So you said to me, what is the first thing that we need to do here?
Yeah.
We've got to start controlling the illegal hunting.
Okay.
And it's been a very difficult task. It's been a difficult task because, again, we're sitting with all of these do-gooders that feel sorry for the dogs.
And isn't it a gambling thing, isn't it?
No.
It's not that story.
It's not that kind of thing. What has happened is that during COVID, because everything went quiet, these guys got into a rut of just coming through warmer into the valley and poaching. They poached right through the day, right into the night. They just poached up and down. So they got into that rut. Right. I had a run-in with them about 2 years ago, and we managed to get 16 dogs. which we took to the Euthanatic SPCA, and the late Kevin Brown euthanized them all.
Yeah.
And what was very interesting is all of those dogs were vaccinated, inoculated, and spayed. So they're all dogs that have been done by animal welfare agencies, which are now healthy and in good health, etc., and have even been fed by them, which have been used for the hunting.
Yeah.
So, you know, Kevin actually said to me, "You see, these are all these animal welfare agencies' dogs." The problem is that the municipality has to do something about the dogs.
Yeah.
The dogs are the at the moment, dogs and sewerage are the greatest threat to the valley because it is uncontrolled, and you will have very little wildlife if you've got people literally daily coming through with big packs of dogs. There's no ways.
Yeah.
You can't have wildlife, you know.
You say
The odd
bags-
things will
bags of
survive.
Tortoises. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't see tortoises around anymore.
The odd things will survive. You'll have a couple of dussies because they live in the krantz. It's a lot more difficult to get at. But all of your game species, your small mammals, your caracal, your genets and stuff ultimately get killed by those dogs.
And there used to be little monitors here, little. What do you
Oh,
call
listen,
them?
I've seen them go out carrying monitors on their backs. They kill them as well.
Really?
Yes, very sought after.
Oh, man, unbelievable. What are the local extinct species? Is there anything that's gone?
Right, so let me go through all of the stuff. Right, so first of all, you're looking at grass owl,
Grass owl.
yeah, marsh owl, right, secretary bird,
Wow.
martial eagle.
Yeah.
I have to go through them carefully, mate. Okay. Common reedbuck.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm looking at the species over the last 40, 50 years that originally occurred in this area. Okay. You would have had Oribi here as well within the city. They occurred up to Mossel Bay in 1960, so by the 70s they were wiped out in the Bethelsdorf and Stardens area. Right. Okay. Red-breasted sparrowhawk or rufous-breasted sparrow. Again, you know the name changes all the time. Rufous-breasted sparrowhawks are gone. Okay. I'm just going through all the stuff in the back of my mind. There's one or two other species. I think I've said marsh owl, eh?
Yeah.
Marsh owls are
as
gone.
well, yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, and this you could take either way. So I would get at least 2 or 3 martial eagles in from the greater PE area every single year for rehabilitation. They're either connected with power lines, young birds, etc., etc. Now I might get 1 every 10 years. Wow. That's how bad the situation is. Secretary birds, I would get 3, 4 a year. Unfortunately, you know what's happened to secretary birds? Yeah. Secretary birds are now critically endangered. But the problem is, so they breed
The white ones.
the big guys that eat the snakes.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so they breed in a nice solitary little tree, thorn tree, normal acacia sticking out. They have their nest on top.
Yes.
What happens? The juvenile leaves the nest. Now he's wandering around. He can't fly. Gets killed by dogs
Oh man. Okay.
because of all the dogs. So I had 2 active nests and 1 other site. Those birds are all gone because there's just too many dogs. They can't raise a single chick there.
Jeez.
You know, so those sites are gone. So it's very interesting watching these species disappear.
Yeah.
You know, grass owls, we find them on the, St. Albans at the closest to P. But originally we had grass owls in Cotswold, we had them in Heatherbank, all those places, they're all gone. One of the things is, what do grass owls do? They breed on the ground. Nothing that breeds on the ground can survive. Marsh owls the same.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's Bugsy Phoenix saying, how's it watching from England? Great watch. Thank you, Bugsy. And Donnell Goldberg, you see, have a look at a couple of these things as well, catch up a little bit. Do you know Arnold's also a history enthusiast? Oh, I didn't know that. You enjoy a bit of history. So
I like history.
I love it. I love it.
History. You know what I've done? I think you need to do it as well.
Yeah.
I've done something, and I think this is the most amazing thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to have my DNA sent away and tested to see where exactly I come from.
Oh, really? Well, I don't know. I haven't. I mean, I know I'm half Italian. Half of my DNA is Italian, of course. You guys are so cool. Thank you, Bugsy. And Lynn Potterfar saying, amazing, enjoying, so interesting. It is. Tertia DeToy, love this conversation. Thank you. Excellent. Oh, she did chase the geese, says Wendy. We
good.
have 3 owls that come to the complex. That's down at Summer Strand Way, so that's great. We've got so many awesome stories. Please, can you do a weekly chat on here?
No.
We do it twice a week. We do it twice a week. Can we vaccinate our animals? Where can we vaccinate our animals free of charge? Saying Philippa. Is there a birthplace?
Yeah, the state vet normally does, but I think you must just find the local veterinary practice. They do have days for rabies vaccination.
Oh, the rabies.
And
stuff.
you know, the frightening thing is, I was talking to my good friend Dr. Matt. You can't believe it. People in the fanciest suburbs in town. Oh, my dog's not vaccinated against rabies.
Yeah. No,
Jeez,
you
I
gotta
just
do
can't
it.
believe it.
No, we
Seriously.
gotta do it, eh?
Seriously? Do you know how many people are rocking up at the vet's practice? I mean, the most frightening story I heard was a guy from Bridgemead. It's a sausage dog, good old Dachshund. In his garden, never gets out. The dog started behaving funny, blah, blah, blah. Takes him to the vet, rabies.
Oh, man.
So, you know, rabies positive. Actually tested rabies positive. But
Jeez.
why did the guy not have his dog vaccinated?
Yeah.
Did he think because it's in a back garden, it's impossible?
So it's important to do it, guys. I think
No, the rabies is the most frightening thing.
Yeah.
COVID, you can forget about that joke, but rabies, watch out.
Queenie's of course for I'll go FM. Nice to see you on, Queenie. And it's so amazing to watch Arnold. You're such a blessing and inspiration. I agree with Arnold. So much needs to be done by the municipality, but the correct people do not understand what it all entails. Yes, I think so. You know, we've got. Oh my word! Yeah, look, it's another whole, you know, a box of what do you call it? A box that full of Pandora's box. That's what I was looking for. Lynn Butter saying, "How wow, guys, so educational, very interesting. Thanks so much, and music too. Love this show. Feel so enlightened. I'm glad. I do as well. I was the one throwing a rat out into the valley. My God, I don't know how many birds it's killed since I put it out there.
Probably half the valley's decimated now. There's no bird life left here now.
Bugsy, do you guys have a problem with people getting lots of dogs during lockdown? Now they can't control them and they're flushing loads of ground nesting birds out.
I think Bugsy's in England, and that will be a
Yes,
big problem there.
sure.
Because, you know, all of a sudden, exactly what... This is the... You know, it just blows me away. So now we have this whole lockdown thing.
Yeah.
So people are sitting at home. Take a guess one thing. I think a lot of people realized how many birds their cats actually kill. They weren't at home before. Now they're at home every day. Now they see our cat coming in with a sunbird and this and
bloody
that.
bird,
That is one thing. The second thing is, a lot of people then went out, oh, I want this dog and I like that dog, and they Google and they got all these dogs. What's going to happen to all of these dogs? I just know people way too well. As soon as they're bored with the dog, animal welfare, here we come, I've got this dog's too naughty.
Yeah, it becomes
Very
their
sad
problem.
story.
It becomes their problem.
You know what the saddest story I found? People that immigrate and then hand their dog over to the domestic or something, and you know it ends up in the township, and you
that's
know,
another story. Yeah.
horrible stories.
Camilla Ellis said, what did she say? She said she went to Sacramento dawn one morning, was threatened by a guy and his poaching dogs. Gee was, eh?
Well, my same friend, old Brandon, he lives in Sardinia Bay, phoned me, said the other evening, 3 o'clock in the morning, they had rifle shots in the reserve. You know what was interesting? On the cameras set up by Walmer Township, they caught the guys going out with the dogs, picked them up on camera, and they were carrying rifles.
Yo.
They weren't just hunting with dogs anymore, they carry firearms.
Yo-wee.
And Brandon said early hours of the morning he woke to a rifle shot behind his house in the reserve.
Holy crap. Gary Joyce saying, excellent chat, thanks man. And I see Andrew Stewart, great show. Also think Arnold should be weekly. You're right, we'll have to get updates. We're going to have to get updates from you, Arnold. I think that's the secret here. I mean, it's and incredible to think that these animals are here. They are around. Every now and again something pops up, you know, a little buck or a little and nature is like that, isn't it? How quickly does it come back, or does it not?
Did you ever see that thing, Life After People?
Yes, I had. I did. It was a TV series.
That is the most amazing thing. How potentially nature can come back again and just take over these cities and just chow them up. Have you watched the stuff on Chernobyl?
Chow them up. I like that.
Have you watched the stuff on Chernobyl? Have you seen how the wildlife's come back?
Yeah.
It's just all come back. And it's a wildlife paradise. And a lot of these things are saying, oh, these things should die from radiation.
Radioactive. Yeah.
And they're there and they're doing their job. Now, unfortunately,
glowing
Putin and all his friends are clapping it out there. So it's very sad. But I mean, Chernobyl's an amazing story of wildlife just coming back under these circumstances. So wildlife can recover.
Yeah.
And if you said to me, you know, I don't like thinking in the box, I think out of the box. You know what I would do in the Balkans? I'd put some black wildebeest in.
Yeah.
I'd put a couple of new species in.
Yeah.
Just add some species that originally occurred. And there's a reason for black wildebeest.
Yeah.
Black wildebeest or zebra don't take any nonsense from dogs. They'll sort the dogs out in 5 seconds. Anyone who knows black wildebeest will tell you. And they very well came close to occurring in the area. Zebra do the same. They sort out dogs quite quickly. So it would be really nice if someone ever had, the gum. You could, if you protected the Barkans properly, you could reintroduce a lot of indigenous species that occurred here, which would not have a negative impact on utilization of the valley.
Wonderful. When you're saying that the poachers as well chased my neighbour's son while jogging near the airport. So, I mean, they're all over with these hunting dogs, this thing.
But you know what the truth of the matter is? Let's go back to it. The real way to sort it out, it's a very harsh thing. The dogs have to be killed. There's not even a debate that the dogs have to be killed. A lot of people have this whole thing about, now, let me explain to you about killing things. Right. First of all, you need to have permission to use a firearm within the municipal area. Right. Obviously, any form of firearm.
Yes.
So you need to have a permit to do that. And I have a whole series of permits from nature conservation to do various things. You need the landowner's permission as well. But the law plainly says that any dog found not in the control of its owner, in the pursuit of wildlife, or presenting a threat to domestic stock may be destroyed.
Okay.
It doesn't say, think about it, it can be destroyed. Right. And people need to realize that, because I had a very interesting conversation with people from the warmer area. And I said, you complain about the dogs, but you walk and you've got Sparrow running wild in the valley chasing everything. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. You need to set the example. So if you're going to walk in those areas, keep your dog on a leash.
On a leash, you have to do it. So
keep your dog on a leash for the wildlife.
Purely from a point of view, even if your dog is, that's because everybody says, my dog won't chase or whatever, and it's easy to think like that because it's your dog as well. So you know your dog, but the problem is that if you haven't got on a leash, then you're just doing this. You're breaking the same law.
Well, the point of the matter, you're breaking the same law, and the valley is there for all to enjoy. It's not there for a select few to plunder. And I'm like I said to you, I still am very ambivalent about public open space. Now, these guys like to hunt with their dogs; they can do it there. But the valley is the line that should be drawn and said, so far,
or protected area.
It's a protected area. Leave it alone. Go and hunt in the public open space in the forest reserve at Driftsand. Go and do your thing there, but leave the valley alone. That is a haven for the local wildlife.
Absolutely. And if anything you see, if you spot anything, how people that are watching now, how can they, if they spot anything happening, what can they do? How can they? Who do they contact?
The police and the municipality are supposed to do something about poaching in the valley.
Okay.
They are the ones that are actually, the police will pass it on, but the municipality is responsible for managing the valley. They have got people that are paid to do the work, right? They need to get off their asses and do their job. That's what it simply boils down to. And we need to find a way of controlling all of the dogs. And if you do that, right, you'll start to see the wildlife come back. Like I said, like that life after humans, you'll see a life after people. I can't remember what it's called. It's just amazing to watch how all the buildings collapse and the plants take over, and you see all these animals wandering the streets.
And now, for your stuff, and it's always like, who do you call if something's gone wrong? Like for snakes, you'll phone Mark Marshall. He's your snakes guy or whatever. But when would people have to phone you or get hold of you? Do you do that stuff? I mean, is that what you...
No, people phone me for virtually every wildlife thing. I'll give them advice. I'm not... If
You're
you
not
phone
the go-to
me...
guy.
No. If you phone me and you say, I've got an issue, and I'll think about it, and I might give you a solution.
Yes. You'll at least point in the right direction.
If you phone me and say, my cat brought in... let me give you this one. My naughty cat brought in a bird.
Yes.
Right? I'm going to look at you and go, why don't you solve your own mess?
Yeah. Okay.
But invariably the birds come and I have to euthanize them anyway, or they die a day or two later. It's the whole story. But basically I deal with all wildlife. I get calls, particularly the birds of prey, the owls and everything. I get hundreds of calls, sometimes too many.
And where can we bring our rats?
Well, just
caught in my
send me a
cage.
WhatsApp. Well, I need, at the moment the need is simmering because these 20 owls are going to go, and then but there comes a time when everything's welcome, every kind donation from the gods,
especially in the summer months, you say. Any rats and mice and things that are and dussies and stuff that you could feed them.
I just love those people that say, "Oh, you've got a wonderful job." And 10 o'clock at night, I'm sitting, I'm thinking, I wonder all these arseholes what they're doing. They're having a bra with a family, and here I am trying to feed a recalcitrant eagle or drag some vicious beast out of a big hole in the ground, battling my life away. I must tell you this. So
Yes.
I had a couple of really mean experiences with Rattle. One of the saddest experiences was, and I'll tell you one thing, the girl got roasted, but it was
Oh dear.
pisses me off the way people drive in town.
Yeah.
Right. Someone in Lorraine managed to ride over a honey badger. The most magnificent female honey badger. Now you should be doing 60 k's an hour or less.
Yeah.
You know, you would see that anyway. They killed it, son did. That still broke my heart. But I've had a number of really mean calls with honey badgers, and I mean they deserve the reputation because you will get honey badger, honey badger, honey badger, and honey badger will look at you and say, "Oh, thank you for saving me. Off I'll go." And then you'll get one that'll say, "Listen, I'm going to sort you out. I just don't like what you did with me. And you and I are going to have a little conversation about this."
They're tough, those little things.
So one night, listen, far tougher than you. I know how tough those buggers are. I've seen what they do to wire mesh and everything. And they are very destructive. So beekeepers hate them with a passion. And they really knock those hives and tear big holes and destroy hives. But anyway, I love those creatures. They're among my favorite because basically they've got a pugnacious attitude. And they walk around permanently with their finger in the air to humanity and say, "Take that." I get a call one night, Seaview Road, 8:30 at night, quite a miserable night. The guy says, "You know, we've seen this animal, it's not by a car, it's black and white." Okay. It's like those things you see on National Geographic.
Yeah.
Right?
Skunk.
No, like those things. So when you talk about Seaview Road, there's a lot of big black and white bushbuck rams.
Okay.
Right. So my first thought, it's a bushbuck ram that's got hit by a car. So off I go to go and see what's wrong, see if it needs to be euthanized, whatever's got to be done. I get there and I see the people, they said they'll wait for me, and I see they standing on the back of the bucky. And they're peering over the road. Now it's pitch dark, right? So I stop, I say, "Where is this animal?" And they point like that over the road from safe distance. And with that I hear this kind of low, angry growl coming out of Port Jackson next to the road. Needless to say, I go to the back of the buckies and grab a net quickly, grab a net that I feel is suitable for the job. I come around the front of the bucky and this rattle comes out the bush. He chases me for 100 meters down Seaview Road, but right on my heel, snapping.
What is this? What is this thing? It's
honey badger.
Is it
It's
also
rattle.
rattle? Okay.
So he chases me down Seaview Road, right? In the pitch dark, I'm running with a rattle on my heel. Eventually, he tires, I tire, he goes off into the bush, right? And he's still mumbling and growling and that, and he walks off. I've actually got a video of a rattle, and you can actually see the teeth behind my heels is chasing me after I release them. But not all of them. Some of them
After
go
you
off.
release it.
You just got to get the right one. You know, it's that right one that says, "Listen, I've had a bad day and you've just made it worse.
Screw
Now I'm
you,
gonna sort you out." Then, next to my rattle story is a story that fortunately I have an eyewitness who was sitting next to me, right next to me. We're driving down Chelsea Road, just on dusk. Hey, there's a guy on a bicycle. He's taking his dog with him for a run. What an idiot. Why is he running with his dog? Dog running behind him. I look and I go, "Jeez, it's a rattle." And he has this rattle and this guy's pumping like hell and this rattle's right up behind him on the bicycle. So, yeah, rattles there's a fair amount of them in the area, actually. And they are top species, threatened species. So
really?
I like them.
How do they? Are they bigger than genets and more?
Yeah, no, they're fair-sized creatures. Look like a big skunk.
Okay, a big skunk. Okay,
and they're pretty smelly too because they're muscular, so they smell quite strong.
All right. Well, last couple of questions I've got. Otherwise, we'll be here all night. I'm gonna have to get you on again for sure. Absolutely. Pamela and Bia, thank you. Good laugh, most entertaining. Arnold, thank you, man. We. Always, last couple of questions, always your most embarrassing moment or your most moment where something's gone completely wrong, and then your proudest moment. I know it's a tough one to just quickly spring on you at the end.
Okay, it was not embarrassing, but it was quite funny. It happened during my conservation career.
Yes.
So I get called to the Holy Rosie Convent.
Oh, yes.
Now,
yes,
there's a big...
It's Philippa's school. That's where my wife runs her school from now.
Okay. There's a big male baboon, and he's been terrorizing the city for days.
Holy moly.
Right, so he's in the school grounds.
Okay.
Right. So my boss's instructions are, Arnold, he's got to go.
Shoot it. Yeah,
He's a danger, he's got to go. Go and do your job.
Yeah.
So I get to the convent. Now, you know, all those nuns, Mother
Yes.
Superiors, they phone me.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Bless you, my son.
Bless you, my son, etc. That kind of stuff.
Name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
So now the whole thing is, right, that I need. Oh wait, I've got an even greater. You're going to love this one. But I've got an even better one. Okay, so the whole thing is that I need to do this without disturbing the children.
Yes.
Blah blah blah.
Or the nuns.
So. And you know, when you're a young guy and your boss has told you what you got to do, you're very careful. In those days, we had respect for the chief. You know, he told you what to do and you did it properly. So
Yes, okay.
I haul a semi-auto shotgun out, jack some shells into
Jeez,
it,
like.
right? And I'm now sneaking past the school buildings. Right?
Shotgun.
Because, but I'm trying to sneak with the shotgun, right?
Yeah.
So I've got it against my side and I'm sneaking, and the next thing a window pops open and Mother Superior pops out.
Yes.
Now what can I do?
Yeah.
Not so, just be blunt.
Yeah.
Now she looks at me and says, "Oh, you here for the baboon, my boy?"
What you
I said,
doing?
"Yes,
Yes.
I'm here for the baboon." She says, "Oh, I see you're going to dart it." Now meanwhile I've got this whole handful of shotgun shells, the shotgun full of 12 gauge.
Buckshot.
So I said, "Yeah, buckshot." I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna dart it." But now I'm starting to get a bit, you know. Now I can see already. Oh, the boss is going to have people phoning and saying
Yes.
they witnessed this bloody action. Anyway, I said, "But they're very dangerous when they darted." Right?
Yes.
So just keep the kids inside and keep everyone inside. Needless, I go and there's the poor old baboon sitting in the top of a pine tree and he's watching me, I'm watching him. We have a brief moment where our eyes cross and I shoot him stone dead. Drops out the tree, boom, on the ground. Okay. Now, I've got to get the dead baboon down the alley, right? Past all the
Mother
classrooms,
Superior.
back to my vehicle without anyone seeing. I've got nothing to carry the baboon in. I've got a shotgun and a dead baboon. Now, how do you get that back to the vehicle? So, I thought about it. Okay, well, pick up the baboon nicely, like a baby. Picked up the baboon nicely in my arms,
Yes.
shotgun across here. Now I'm walking. And I can feel the sweat running down the back of my neck because I don't want to offend people and have them
like
phone
the
the boss.
Pieta.
I'm going to and I've got the stone dead baboon with his head lolling. And I can feel the blood running down the inside of my shirt.
My word.
I kid you not, I get halfway, the window opens, and I look left and I look right, and there's just kids' faces stuck against the window or watching, and the Mother Superior. And she says, "Oh, you've darted him." I said, "Yes, keep quiet, he's sleeping. He'll wake up, just keep quiet." And I promise you I was rigid as I can. I was absolutely rigid carrying that baboon down the alley. And every window there were kids peering at me like this. And I could feel the blood running down the front. Anyway, I got it to the vehicle and there was never anything said about it. Obviously he darted. And she did phone a couple of hours later. I said, "No, he's come around, he's fine, he's gone again."
It's all right, the Catholics could handle a bit of blood.
Okay, here's an even worse one. I get called 3 years ago. Sunday afternoon, Helenvale,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
I'm telling you, we're talking gangster paradise now.
Okay.
There's a monkey
Yeah.
trapped in a tree in a schoolyard. Let me tell you, you have no idea. Drugs and alcohol really make them go wild. So these guys are tossing rocks at the monkey. But you've got people standing on one side of the tree, people standing on the other side of the tree. And the rocks are going, bricks and rocks are going left and right, over the top. They're really hitting. And of course, when someone gets hit on that side, then they, instead of throwing the rocks at the monkey, they start throwing rocks at each other. Now imagine this, eh? You've got hundreds of drunk people. Literally, there's thousands of people there. The whole
There's a
area,
jaw happening.
Everyone's there. Everyone in the whole of Helenvale's there.
Yes.
The cops are there. The riot unit's there. The animal
nice.
anti-cruelty
So
leagues
there's
there.
like a riot
Everybody's
cry.
there, right?
My word. And the monkey in the middle of this.
And the monkey sitting in the top of the tree. There's no hope for catching him, etc., etc. It's just there's only one way the monkey's got to go, but he needs to go so he doesn't get mauled and injured, because they really do. If they get a hold of it, they maul them.
Okay.
Anyway, so the monkey's in the top of the tree. So I take my trusty silence .22 out
Yes.
against my chest. Now I've got to go. And listen, the police actually have to clear the way, because they are going ballistic.
Yeah.
There's just no control on them. They're almost uncontrolled. And the stones are flying and the bottles are flying, and it's just going wilder and wilder. So I get my way through the crowd with the police's help. Now I get into the school grounds. First you got to lock the gate, go in. Now when I start walking, I just hear this chanting behind me. Sniper, sniper, sniper.
Sniper.
So the whole lot are just chanting,
Sniper.
sniper, sniper. So now I get into the school grounds.
Yeah.
They must know, hey, this is not something I get paid for. This is I've got to do a favour. Animal Anti-Cruelty League said this animal's going to be badly injured. You need to do what's got to be done here.
Okay.
Get inside. So the kind lady from Animal Anti-Cruelty League comes and says, you know, Arnold, these kids see so much violence.
Yeah.
Can we not? I said, listen, the monkey's on the top of the tree. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
You know, the monkey's not going to come any lower. He's going to stay right up high there. I've got to take him up from the top of the tree.
Yeah.
Anyway, now it's getting even wilder and there's a hum and everything.
Yeah.
She says, listen, can you not do it in a way that they can see nothing? I said, no, it's impossible. I mean, it's an open school field, one tree, 5,000 people around, banging against the thing, throwing rocks and bottles. What can I do?
Yeah.
So I take a nice rest on the side of the building, aim, beautiful shot, headshot, the monkey drops out the tree. Hits the ground, but as it starts falling, you just hear this crowd chanting, skid omdat sy kop bar, skid omdat sy
yes.
kop. The whole lot of them are
No.
chanting. These little children are all chanting it. Obviously, the way they brought up in the game. It was frightening. It was a frightening indictment on the area and the people. And you have to have sympathy in that kind of environment. I mean, how did those children get brought up? And that's what they're all saying. You know, forget these children are not used to violence. The whole lot was singing and chanting that one.
You know, and there we go back to all the church people and the Catholics and the whatever nuns and mother and what is her name, the nun that was doing work in that area as well. You know, back to the people that are going to try and stop the poverty, try and stop the thing, and that's when you have to step back and try and look at the big picture.
You know, I mean, I go into those areas quite often for wildlife issues and that, and it is. You've got to have, listen, I'll tell you one thing, you've got to have real balls to go into those areas. I mean, I've often had to go and rescue owls and stuff, and you just feel the hair on the back of your neck rise, because you can see them everywhere waiting. And the unfortunate thing is there are so many good people that are trapped in amongst this gangsterism.
Of course, yes.
And you get to see it.
Yeah. Your proudest moment, final question. Proudest thing, perhaps, I mean, everybody says they're children, but you haven't got children, so you don't have to worry about that one. So now, that's the proudest moment, probably, maybe, I'm not even going to guide you with. You must tell me.
My proudest moment? You know, I put a lot of effort into my dogs. I love my dogs very much, my German Shorthairs. I spend a lot of time training and working with them.
German Shorthairs.
So, when, you know, I've really great moments, and there's just when the dogs do exceptionally well, that I really love.
Do they do competitions and stuff?
With competitions.
Competitions, already.
So
what do they do?
Working gun dog trials. So they actually work as gun dogs.
So it's almost like hunting dogs, I suppose. Eh?
They're gun dogs.
Do you whistle for them, or do they?
No, the whole thing of training those dogs is a lot more complicated. So what initially happened is my passion for birds of prey started not only from my conservation days, because as a young conservationist, I was taken by an old guy called William Hussein, who's now dead, and he used to take me around. He used to take me to all the crowned eagle nest sites. So I had a wonderful background in going to crowned eagle nest sites and martial eagle nest sites, because I was the youngster. I'd climb and collect prey remains and do all the crappy stuff. Up you go, Arnold, up the yellowwood trees. Don't worry about that crowned eagle going to kill you, but just get that prey remain. Let's see what that is. Oh, throw that goat skull away. We don't need farmers know they eat goats. You know, that kind of stuff. So anyway, so I had this thing. So my big thing always was falconry.
Okay.
Right. So that is a big passion of mine. I love training falcons, and particularly peregrine falcons, and the dogs and training falcons are they're part of a tradition that is over 1,000 years old.
Okay.
In fact, falconry is well over 1,000 years old. Sure. So, you know, that is the thing that actually got me into gun dogs. Yeah. And it's actually something that actually got me to realize how intelligent dogs actually are. Yeah. So as technology is advanced, and I hate technology, but also love it. Yeah. So now we work dogs with GPS collars on. So we can tell a lot of things about dogs that we didn't know are working dogs. We can tell that dogs will recognize an area and go to a particular spot every time. And you can bring it back a year later and put that dog down, and you can watch in your GPS and you can compare the pattern from a year, and we'll go straight to that spot where it found something. Yeah. You know, so those are the kind of things that make me tick. So in my spare time, peregrine falcon, dogs. So
that's your real passion there going on.
I mean, there is nothing in this world that compares to a set of pointers on point and a covey of partridge and a peregrine falcon up Yep, peregrine falcon, 600-700 foot above you, waiting for the flush of a partridge.
Do they watch that bird as well?
Well, it's quite interesting with the falcons. They love the dogs. So and they develop a very strong, and it's something that's come through a long time. So all of your working gun dogs, your bird dogs, and that have a very close affinity with falcons and falconry.
Yeah.
So the falcons bond to a certain dog.
Yeah.
And I had an old bitch called Storm, but she was the most brilliant bird finder of the lot. Old German short-haired bitch, and I loved her to death. She probably, it's a dog that I'll still get a tear in my eye when I think of old Storm. But, so, one of my favorite, and I give my birds all the same name, Hawk. I just call them Hawk. It's just simpler. Just go Hawk. So, she knew that wherever Storm was on point, there'd always be birds, and she'd get success with Storm. So she'd mount up, and the first thing, when you take the hood off and you unleash her, now she's going to mount. The first thing she'd do is she'd actually look for Storm.
Oh, really?
And then as soon as she saw where Storm was on point, then she'd go. And she'd up, and then she'd wait over Storm. And my command for my dogs is good dogs, and the dogs go in and they flush, the partridge erupt, and the hawk has its chance. And quite often they miss, they don't catch every single time. And we go home and we laugh because the partridge was too clever, and the old wily partridge get away, and sometimes they have great success. So, I love that kind of thing. That to me is what makes life for me. And I love the winter when I can get time to do that kind of stuff. And there's not that much. Every now and then wildlife rescue comes. And quite often when I'm doing falconry, the most amazing things happen as well, because I get to see things that a lot of people don't. Because you're in the field every single afternoon, you're out with the dogs and the hawks, and you see the most amazing things. And when your dogs are well trained, they don't chase anything. Their goal is, they're not allowed to chase anything. Their goal is only to find and to point. So they'll point a lot of interesting wildlife. So you get them out, and sometimes they point things you don't want them to point.
Oh, really?
Yes, because next thing out comes a warthog hurting, and then warthog hurt, and then it takes your legs out from under you and funny things like that. But that's my. I'm always proud of a good afternoon's walking.
I love that. That sounds like your passion, though. Your thing that really gets you going. I love it. But thank you so much, Arnold. It's been fantastic having you, and I think we must have updates every now and again. Well, I'll give you a buzz. We'll make a plan. And it's been so interesting. Really, it has. Thanks, guys. Sister Ethel, Camilla says that's exactly what I was trying to think of in there. And Sister Ethel was there. Great. Thank you, Mike Barwood, and Camilla and Bugsy. Thanks for popping on as well. Our competition for the Fitch and Leads. We've got a case of Fitch and Leads we give away every show, and we're going to do our draw quickly and see how it goes. See who's going to win. If you've commented, you get a chance, and let's see if it's not pulling the gambling thing. Let's see if there's anybody who's going to win. It's Donnell Goldberg. Excellent, Donnell. Well done, Donnell. You're the winner. We'll send that to you as soon as we can. Thank you, Gary Joyce. Thanks so much. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Thank you to our sponsors, to Spa and to Fitch and Leads, and to thank you to our food that comes every now and again. And also, of course, to Amovia, our internet provider. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on with Brendan Kelly. Brendan Kelly's on Tuesday. Don't forget. We'll see you on Tuesday. And make sure you share the video. Share it. Subscribe to YouTube. It's Monday next week. We're doing a Monday because we've got another gig on Tuesday. But thank you so much, Arnold. You're fantastic. Magic.
Relax, sit down. Coming out of PE town. Drink, find a shot. Never mind your liver. Get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot.
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot.
Have a laugh, have a giggle, and exercise your middle. Have a Gino shot.